Welcome to Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. I'm your host, Jason Bland, and tonight we have guest Rob Gutro. This, I think, is his third or fourth time, I can't remember, on this show. He's the author of Pets and The Afterlife. That's the first time we ever had him on. We talked about his, I think, first or second book. Now he has a third one out, which is Messages from Spirit Dogs. And anybody that's been, friends with me on Facebook or been watching the show know that not long ago I lost within a matter of weeks both my dogs, and I'm still depressed about it. We'll talk about it. We always talk when we have Rob on about how the dogs are our babies. They're our little fur babies. They're members of our family, and that goes for cats too. And cats having a hard time with the loss of our dogs. Rob is always great to have on, especially for somebody who's able to do something rare for mediums, is talk to spirit animals. Not spirit animals, but animals who passed on. You don't get many mediums that do that. I mean, you have some that do, I think, in readings here and there. I'll get a message from a pet, but Rob has a specialty in it, and that's why I first always became so interested in him. He's got a lot more to him than that. He's written several other books, Ghost of England, A Medium's Vacation, and last time we had him on, I think we talked about his book, Kindred Spirits, about a year ago. So always interesting. Of course, we got a lot of weird to get to. We were gone last week. Again, I apologize. Some stuff came up, and it was Valentine's Day, and later that night, I ended up spending my Valentine's Day with my boys, watching a movie and doing my taxes. That's what I had to do. It wasn't just that wasn't the reason I had to cancel, but since I couldn't do a show, I did my taxes. Yeah, fun. So I didn't have fun. You guys, if you had a bad Valentine's Day because you didn't have your Paranormal Soup, I apologize. But we are back tonight with guest Rob Gutro and a lot of weird, and we're streaming out to YouTube, Facebook, internet radio, and now Twitch. Yeah, we're giving that a try. We'll see how that goes. But let's go ahead and get rolling into the show. Welcome to another night of Paranormal Soup. As I said before, I'm your host, Jason Bland. If you're watching on Twitch tonight, we are first time streaming there. I think I tried a couple of years ago when I was doing on a different service. Jamie and Rob on the Weird Wednesday show started trying it out. So I'm like, yeah, all right, yeah, I'll jump off the cliff too and let's give it a shot. It's mainly a lot of video gamers and stuff on there, I know, because I video game. I think, never know, might reach a new audience. So if you're watching on Twitch, hello, welcome. This is Paranormal Soup, where we cover all things weird. And tonight's guest, Rob Gutro, will join us to talk about spirits of animals on the other side after our first commercial break, after our World Wide Web of Weird news segment. Joining me every Sunday night, though, if you're new to the show, is my beautiful co-host, Jamie D. How you doing tonight, Jamie?
Doing well, thank you.
It's good to have you on. Glad. I know you're happy to have Rob on. It does get hard. You were talking before we started. It does get a little hard. You hear people in the chat room sharing their stories. You're saying, and how it hurts you in the heart. And you see so many people. How we know as pet owners, me, you, and Rob, how hard it is when you lose an animal. And some people just don't get it. But I know everybody. I think everybody in my chat room gets it. We've had these shows, and that's what's heartbreaking. Seeing so many that have lost. All of us have lost a little fur baby at some time. So I'm there with Jamie. Hold strong. A lot of hugs tonight, I'm sure. Also from St. Augustine, Florida, himself is Rob Autry. How you doing tonight, Rob?
Doing good. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you. And again, I am sorry about the loss in your family, and I am very thankful that you were here with us tonight because I can't do it without you, Rob. Can't do it without you. So thank you for joining us on that. And speaking of that, Rob runs the World Wide Web of Weird, and we do have a lot to get to in the World Wide Web of Weird. Tonight on World Wide Web of Weird, I thought I'd start out with something that isn't paranormal or weird or UFO, but it's something we talk about quite a bit is NASA. And, of course, the biggest news in NASA right now is NASA's Perseverance rover has landed on Mars. Or has it? That's the internet now. Or has it? That's the internet. When everything's illusion, nobody, there's always somebody out there questioning it. Yeah, I know. If you're listening on the internet or on our paranormal internet radio network, Paranormal Soup, 24/7, we are a webcast where you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, and now Twitch. But you can listen. I will try to narrate as best as possible. This one, NASA's Perseverance rover has landed on Mars. I just got it from Unexplained Mysteries. After a journey of 292 miles and a harrowing descent, Perseverance has landed safely on Mars. There was much jubilation at NASA yesterday as a signal came back to indicate the car-sized rover had survived its 7 minutes of terror and touched down safely on the Martian surface. It's a new home. Hisario Carter was chosen because a million years ago, the Hisario crater, because a million years ago was believed to have been flooded with water, making an ideal place to look for evidence of ancient alien life. Not the ancient alien life. They're looking like little critters. At least that's what they say. Another important part of the mission will be the demonstration of the Mars helicopter Ingenuity, a small drone that has hitched a ride to Mars in the belly of the rover. That one I'm interested in seeing. Imagine getting to be the NASA guy that gets to fly that thing around.
Yeah.
Like, don't fly, no, don't show that, That's the thing. Jamie, you were talking about this before the show, them like cutting the feed or, are they going to show stuff, I don't know. It's a big planet. I'm sure they're landing nowhere near where there might be something. I don't know, we should see Hoagland. It's like, you should land there. No, okay. The rover will be tasked with collecting samples and soil and leaving them in special caches for future rover to come and retrieve as part of an ambitious sample return mission. I remember that one Mars movie. The guy gets like an effect, like there's some disease. Never mind. Bad things happen when you watch sci-fi. You just believe it's going to be bad. Don't take the Martian soil. It's going to have some kind of zombie Martian virus in it. Or did we really land there? This is what I want to talk about. This is that I've seen so many people. Well, I've seen most people believe we land there, but there's definitely a segment of paranormal community, and I can't totally not blame them for having some skepticism. There are some answered questions, but they just are like, we didn't land there. It's all fake. I don't know. I mean, I think we landed there. I hope we landed there because one day we might actually have to land there. Like somebody's going to land there eventually. Somebody's going to get there, and if they find out there's no tracks or rovers there, then there's going to be some explaining to do. That's why I don't think they would actually fake it. Maybe I'm just simple-minded. I don't know. I know there's going to be people going to be like, no, it's fake. Wake up. Open your eyes, man. I don't know.
And like my mom had mentioned, maybe they don't want us to see everything all at once in case there was something crazy that could put everybody into this fearful uprise, like seeing some formation that looks like something frightening or something frightening.
Or a new world religion where we worship the new alien overlords. I don't know. I mean, Anyway, speaking of that, speaking about fears and paranoia, this next one, mob destroys. We've had the monolith story we've covered several times in different areas. It keeps popping up. Well, this time the pitchforks came out. Mob destroys monolith over Illuminati fears. The mysterious 12-foot metal structure, which appeared on the roundabout in the capital city of Kinshasa, I don't know if that's how you say it, this last week, and immediately drew both concern and intrigue, with some locals turning out to take selfies and others expressing concerns over who or what had put it there. So great was the paranoia surrounding the structure that by Wednesday, a large mob had descended on the area. Armed with torches, they lit the monument on fire and started tearing it apart. Some believed the structure, which turned out to be comprised of an interior frame covered with thin metal sheets, had been placed there by a secret cabal or organization. Some were even concerned that the satanic worshippers explorers or extraterrestrial visitors were responsible. We woke up and saw the metallic triangle, local resident Sergei Ifula told Reuters News. We were surprised because it's a triangle that we often see in documentaries about Freemasons and Illuminati. So, man, I didn't realize that stuff is, wow, I thought that was just America, England, maybe into this kind of conspiracy. Oh, wow. Mayor Babylon Gibbabine had since sent some of the material away to be scientifically analyzed. Really? It is currently unclear if the mysterious structure is connected to the 2020 phenomena that saw dozens of mysterious... I believe it is connected. Maybe, just a hunch there. Appeared at random places around the world. At the time, Art Collective, the most famous artist, claimed responsibility for 2 monoliths in the United States and began selling replicas of it on his website for $45,000 a piece. Cha-ching! Yeah, it is.
I'm making one of these and putting it in my front yard.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to go there. I can think of something like put a big middle finger. Can I sell that? Others also appeared in Spain, Germany, Colombia, Belgium, and the United Kingdom. Well, this country is not having. I just think the South Park, them burning down Walmart kind of serial. I don't know. There's something maybe to what they're saying, like, there's some like Illuminati cabal. Maybe they are paying these artists to put these monoliths up as some secret symbolism that we're taking over the world. I don't know. Could be. One thing we've talked about with guests on here is Project Bluebeam. The ability to fake alien invasion or a religious event. And I've had guests on that have talked about that possibility. Some don't think it was ever real. I'm one of those people think, oh yeah. If there's definitely a will and a way that our government tried to do this, and I'm sure other governments. This one came from the United Arab Emirates, but our government sells stuff to them all the time, so it's probably ours. A government bewilders residents with double moon over Dubai. The appearance of 2 mysterious moons, and we're going to show the video in just a second, over Dubai last week caused a stir online and left residents of the city scratching their heads until it was revealed that the wondrous sight was actually a fantastic fabrication by the United Arab Immigrants government in celebration of the space milestone. The odd incident reportedly unfolded last Thursday evening when seemingly out of nowhere a pair of sizable objects could be seen in the night sky. Stunned witnesses stopped their cars to get a better look at what they were seeing, and the video of puzzling double moon quickly went viral on social media. As one might imagine, UFO enthusiasts suspected the 2 objects had some kind of alien explanation, while skeptics observers suggested that the scene was something faked. It was actually something people see. You get the reactions. Specifically, the 2 objects seen in the sky were depictions of Martian moons Phobos and Deimos, as the Hope probe would see them when it gets to the atmosphere of the red planet. As for how they pulled off the elaborate sight, the UAE government utilized a pair of approximately 300-foot tall cranes supporting a massive 130-foot screen upon which a realistic picture of the 2 lunar bodies was projected. There's a will, there's a way. Illusions can be made. I mean, go ahead and play this video. Imagine if you were driving down the road and you saw this. Imagine you just saw these like 2 planets. I'm like, oh, it's the end of the world. It's Planet X. I don't know, and it brought a lot of friends. You're all gonna die. Yeah. You imagine, like now people are more skeptical of things, I guess. We know technology and that, but imagine if they tried to use this technology 10, 20, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, people would get end of the world. I guess. Okay. Might feel like you're in a dream. That'll lead into the next segment. Study achieves communication through dreams. I thought this was really interesting. You probably hear my adverts that I need to make new. I know I need to make new ads. I'm so behind on stuff. I need to make new ads, but there's one ad I play or from an old movie, Dreamscape. I love that movie. It's cheesy, I know. It's an 80s movie with Dennis Quaid. I love that movie, though, and this is what this article reminds me of, this experiment. We don't often remember the details. It's from Unexplained Mysteries, so I should tell you that. We don't remember the details of what we dream, but for some people, it might not only be possible to recall every detail of a dream, but also control the narrative while they are asleep. Now scientists are collaborating across multiple universities have demonstrated that it is even possible to communicate in real time with a person who is in lucid dreaming by asking them questions and receiving informed responses despite the person being unconscious. This extends to having sleeper perform simple math, follow instructions, or answer yes or no questions with a response coming in the form of eye movements or facial twitches. So it's not like they're talking, they're getting it from that. somehow, I guess. We found that individuals in REM sleep can interact with experimenter and engage in real-time communication, said senior author Ken Poller, Northwestern University. We also showed that dreamers are capable of comprehending questions, engaging in working memory operations, and producing answers. Most people might predict that this would not be possible, that people would either wake up when asked questions or fail to answer, and certainly not comprehend a question without misconstruing it. I know for a fact that people can do that because my wife does that to me all the time. We have whole conversations. She's totally out. She don't remember the conversation at all. She's talking to me in her sleep.
My cousin and I would talk in our sleep when I was staying at his house. My little cousin would hear it. He would talk, I would answer, and we'd have full-on conversations. Neither of us remembered, but heard about it the next day.
It's like you guys were sharing a dream, too.
Pretty much.
You know, maybe. I mean, they say our brains sync to each other. That's what happens in Dreamscape. Highly recommend. I do. You might call it cheesy. I've showed so many friends and family members that are like into I'm like, here, you know, learn a little bit about Jason. Here's my Jason movies you should watch, like Altered States and Dreamscape. And they watch these movies like, these movies are garbage, man. What's wrong with you? Like, oh my God, it's expansion of the mind, you know. No, they don't get it. But if you're like me, maybe, and you watch the show, you might enjoy those movies from the 80s. I know they're bad movies, but I love them.
They made good movies back then, though.
Right. I'm sorry. They're better than The Crab now. I know.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, how many Fast and Furious stand movies can you make? Okay, let's move on. All right, we got some ghost stuff here because we definitely be talking about spirits and ghosts tonight, but of animals. Ghost photographed a centuries-old cemetery in New Hampshire. A New Hampshire man suspects that a photograph taken during a late-night visit to a cemetery just might show a ghost lingering near a gravestone. Tyler Krananisos, I'm sorry if I got that wrong, reportedly took the picture during a visit to Pine Hill Cemetery in the community of Hollis last summer and subsequently shared it on a local Facebook group a few weeks ago. Posting the images as well as some comparative shots of the site explained that he and his friends had visited 250-year-old burial grounds and decided to take some flash photos to keep for memory. When they later looked over the images, they were stunned to see what appears to be some sort of shadowy, ghostly figure. Among the sizable membership of the Facebook group response to the spooky image, decidedly mixed, as some users suspected the anomaly in the image was some kind of spirit, and more skeptical observers argued that the oddity was a result of prosaic elements such as flash and camera reflecting. I don't know. I wouldn't know about saying that's flash. That seems like a solid object somewhat in the picture. I wouldn't say that's flash or reflected, but it could be an object we're just misconstruing.
Again, I wish we would have had pictures.
Yeah, the article doesn't give me the other pictures, and I don't know where to find the other pictures. I had to go to their Facebook group and go that, but their Facebook group.
At least before that one, and then what happened right after.
It's local NH perma. No, that's not it. Hold on. What's the name of the group? So you know, put the name of the group without me going there. Hold on. Let me see what the name of the group is. So you can go check out the other photos of this. I don't want to post all their stuff. Local New Hampshire has a Facebook group, and I've looked at the other pictures, and they don't really. They have another picture that I don't have it here with it, but I almost think it's just the stone,
and that's
just
what
at
it
a
looks
slightly
like
different angle. Yeah.
And it's very easy when you're going through your evidence. You can have a picture that looks so paranormal. I mean, it's so easy to say, look, you know, but you could even know how it was made. And people pass them off as evidence. And
you know, one of the most classic ones I think it got passed off as evidence like that is there's a classic Amityville horror photo from the Amityville house of a little boy, and they say it's the ghost. It's not even a little boy. It's most likely one of the investigators. You do the research on that. It's really interesting. The Warrens, I mean, not to depart, just speak ill of the dead, and or the Warrens, but they kind of never. They always purported this was a real photo, and I think they had to have known in the back of their minds that this wasn't real, that it was a mistake, that it took life of its own. Like, say, look, I got a ghost, and then they could have figured out who it was if there was some debunking actually done. Sorry. Okay, let's move on. I mean, we could be wrong. That could be something there, but I don't see it. When you get really close, like Rob is, it looks like it could just be another stone monument there, and they got it at a different angle.
It does look like a face right there, though, like an animal.
Could be.
Face, though.
Ooh.
Let's, Matrix.
We better move on though before we run out of time. So everybody's getting a lot of snow. Even in Texas and Saudi Arabia. I swear to God, we don't do a World Wide Web of Weird for a week. Like we have a week off like we did. And then like the world goes crazy. People using Gorilla Glue in their hair. It's snowing in Saudi Arabia and Texas. I mean, they're bringing extinct animals back to life. I had so much. I'm like, what do I do? The world loses its mind when we go away, I swear. All right, next one. Man fakes murder to get road cleared of snow. This wasn't in America or Florida. They didn't snow in Florida. This is probably what happened if it snowed in Florida, right? Totally fed up with the fact that his home had been cut off by enormous snow drift and seemingly unable or willing to clear the obstruction himself, an unnamed man who hails from the village of Gorbova, Rodania, in the Ukraine Chernov region, decided to get someone else to do it for him. Rather than paying for the privilege, however, he came up with a rather strange idea of calling the police and confessing to committing a fake murder so that when the emergency services arrived to arrest him, they would be forced to clear the snow from the drive to get to him. Pleased with this idea, he went ahead and called the police, telling them that he had stabbed his elderly stepfather with a knife and that he was willing to turn himself in. However, he did, tell them that they would need to bring a snowplow if they wanted to reach him. Immediately after arriving, they discovered that the relative was indeed at the house, but in one piece and unharmed, said police spokesman. No one had attacked him. The man was subsequently charged with reporting a false crime and wasting police time. It remains unclear whether or not his road was cleared of snow to his satisfaction, though. They had obviously cleared enough to get in there. Oh, now you can get out, and you're going to go to jail.
And he's going to have to pay for all the resources used to handle this.
Yeah, exactly. He's like going to get shot or something. You wonder how his stepfather feels. You reported that false thing that I died. Oh, you killed me. Oh,
gave him the idea.
Like maybe. But I wonder how well he sleeps at night. If that guy's out of jail back at the house, I think I'd be kicking him out.
Like, they probably cleared the snow, and then they took him out of there. And now when he comes back a week later, it'll be all snow filled again.
I saw one post of this story, and there was I didn't want to put the photo up of it because it's not the story, but it's like one post, like a clickbait post of this story where there was somebody had done a snowman in the ground, but made it look like a body. That would have been awesome if he had actually done that. Yeah. Really got him to work. I don't know. Okay, no giving ideas to people. I know there's snow everywhere. I got snow. I paid a guy $40 to clear it. It's don't go. You're gonna go to jail. That's what'll happen in any country. All right, this last one now. Rob had this on the World Wide Web Weird a couple weeks ago, but I wanted to cover this. I missed it, sorry, but I still want to cover this because I think it's pretty weird, and it's Florida. It's Florida. So Rob had to talk about it first, of course. It's pretty metal, says man who turned his uncle's skeleton into a guitar. Florida musician says this was the best way to honor the man who introduced him to heavy metal. Florida musician says turning his late uncle's skeleton into a sick guitar was the best way to honor the man who first introduced him to heavy metal. The Tampa, Florida musician goes by the moniker Prince Midnight, says he crafted the instrument out of medically prepared remains of his uncle Philip. It's pretty metal to play a guitar made out of a skeleton, I have to say, he told As It Happens host Carl Off. Prince unveiled the final product called Skelecaster. Oh my God. I know people can see the picture of this thing. Would you play it, Rob? That was my main question I wanted. Would you play that guitar?
I don't know. But
I'm a guitar player too. I don't know.
Yeah.
What would you say about the pickups on it though, Rob?
Yeah, I was gonna say Anthony brought up when we were talking about it, he was like, man, I'm trying to enlarge it here and it's not cooperating. He's like, it's only got one humbucker. It's not true.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, I did notice that. It only has one humbucker. That thing probably sounds like crap. His uncle's probably shaking his head I sound like a crap Telecaster guitar. Yeah. Screw you. That's what you did to me.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe he's got a nice humbucker on there. He's figured it out. I don't know. One day the school so they went to a school and they no longer needed the bones. So said Midnight. Philip's parents had since died, so the response to his remains fell to Midnight's mother. Cremation was not an option for the Greek Orthodox family, he said, so his mother was stuck with two options: pay for a burial plot or continue to pay a monthly fee to store the remains. She didn't want to pay for that anymore, and then I was like, I'll take care of it. What you do with your Uncle Joe's remains?
Yeah.
So I went through all the red tape, which is a tremendous amount of trouble. You got to contact the funeral home. The State Department is involved as well. Eventually, the musician was able to get Philip's remains shipped into Tampa. At first, he says he wasn't sure what to do with them. Then he was inspired by his guitar maker friend, and the idea struck him. It just popped in my head. I'm going to turn Uncle Phil into a guitar. And I was like, that is the best way to honor him. He would love that idea. Midnight says he's found memories of listening to metal with his uncle and seeing him perform at shows. Uncle Philip was a super metalhead. He got me totally into metal when I was a little kid because he was my mother's younger brother, so he was closer to my age, and he took me under his wing. He died really young, too, if I remember right, from this article, like 26 or 27 or something like that. You know, this is some cbc.ca. You know, I don't have time to read the whole article, but I don't know. I would love to know what it sounds like as a guitar player. I know it probably sounds like crap. Yeah, it does only look like one humbucker on there, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's another meaning to like a guitar neck.
I mean, it's just the strings over it. There's nothing to resonate. I mean, it's electric guitar. So it's all going to be electric. You know, the skeleton has little to do with it, except for, you know, the fretboard, you know, angle attaching the strings on it. I don't know. I think you can get
aesthetics, man.
I think you're going to get some bad mojo. I don't know. This seems like, I don't know. Like,
that's kind of, yeah.
Was the uncle into that type of music?
Yes, that's what he said.
Okay.
His uncle got him into metal, and he said he would love it. You know, he's probably right. It's probably uncle probably like, yeah, that nothing. Literally nothing more metal than that. Now it's going to become a theme.
Yeah.
Now we're going to see people turning their skeletons into guitars and other things.
I mean, I've actually seen a few guitars that were made with bones, but they weren't like real bones.
Yeah, this is the real thing.
Yeah.
All right, that's it for the World Wide Web of Weird. Tonight's guest, Rob Gutro, is going to join us after the commercial break. We'll talk about his newest installment of the Pet and Afterlife series. This is his third book in the series. It's about the deal with spirit dogs. And I've had people heard on my show my recent passing of both my dogs this last year. It was really tough, but there were some really weird instances with it, and I definitely, you know me, I'm definitely a believer in spirits of animals in the afterlife. I've had too much evidence personally to know that they are definitely there with us after they're gone. All right, guys, we'll be right back after this short commercial break.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Cat Hops Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Of the second kind, physical evidence of a UFO. Close encounters of the third kind, contact. From Steven Spielberg, the director of Jaws, comes one of the most ambitious and unusual films ever made. And what you will see has never been seen before. It's a cosmic mystery crossing what many scientists believe will be the next threshold of human experience. It is called Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It begins in an Indiana town and leads to one inescapable conclusion. We are not alone. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Certificate A. Now showing at the Odeon, Leicester Square.
The night is alive. Join us and take a walk on the weird side when you tune in to The Kingdom of Nye, hosted by Heather Wade, the finest in late night talk. Listen live free weeknights starting at 9 p.m. Pacific time at thekingdomofnye.com, talkstreamlive.com, and the Paranormal Radio app. Wanna take a ride?
The international chart-topping, haunted horror of Haverfordwest has been described as terrifyingly real, a must-read, shocking and chilling brilliance, genuinely worrying, utterly frightening. Don't read before bed. Described as one of the spookiest writers out there, best-selling author G.L. Davies presents Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest, the true paranormal account that is shocking the world. Dare you enter? Dare you read? Haunted Horror of Haverfordwest is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, and wherever books are sold. Pray you never have to live there.
Do you like rock and roll? Do you enjoy a good story? Wish You Were Here, A Rock Fantasy, is a book inspired by Badfinger. It will not only entertain you, but intrigue you. What is it about? Well, Thomas is searching for his bandmate and friend in heaven, and In Spirit has helped pen this story. He meets an old friend and famous new ones on his afterlife voyage. Midwest Book Review said, Wish You Were Here, A Rock Fantasy, is a book inspired by Badfinger. It's a quirky story by Joyce S. Isaacson and is unique, original, and deftly crafted metaphysical novel that showcases the author's genuine flair for character and narrative-driven entertainment that is simply riveting from first page to last. Wish You Were Here, A Rock Fantasy is now available on pennantpublication.com, Amazon.com in paperback and hardcover, and also on Kindle Unlimited. So check it out now. Wish You Were Here, A Rock Fantasy.
Switch to DCS ranging.
240, nominal to profile.
We're in the pipe. 5 by 5.
Tonight on Paranormal Soup, our guest is Rob Gutro. Rob is a author, paranormal investigator, medium. Rob considers himself an average guy who just happens to be able to communicate with those who have passed. He's a medium on IGT, the Inspired Ghost Tracking Team of Hanover, Maryland. He has written his books to teach others how to recognize signs from loved ones, either people or pets. By trade, he's a meteorologist, so he tries to explain ghosts and spirits with science. He's had the ability since he was a teenager and has improved over time. He has the first experience as a teenager when his grandfather appeared to him. Since then, his abilities have developed to the point where he can sketch out ghosts and get names and other information. He also wound up living in a house that was haunted as well. We've talked about that before on the show. 2005, Rob's late puppy became the world's best canine communicator and inspired Rob to write his first book. He's written 6 books since, and I think it's 7 actually, and is currently working on 3 others. He is breaking book Ghosts and Spirits provide similarities and differences between the two entities. Rob's participation in private paranormal investigations helped ghosts cross over and has provided countless messages for people and or pets as ghosts of spirits. I know recently, like I said, I lost my own pets. I think my mom even had a little bit of email or communication with Rob when she lost her dog. I might have a little trouble talking about my own experiences tonight. I've talked about it a little bit before. It still hurts, when you lose a fur baby. You can check out Rob's website at www.robgutro.com. You can definitely find his best-selling books on Amazon.com as well. But we got a lot to talk to, so let's go ahead and get to our guest. Let's make sure we get our guest on. How you doing tonight, Rob?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
It's good to have you back. I think it's been about a year since we had you on the show. And so you have a new book out for Pets and The Afterlife, and it's the 3rd in the series, right, of books you've done on this subject.
Yeah, it is number 3. These the pets have a lot to say on the other side.
And this one specifically about dogs that have passed on?
It is, yeah. So there are so many messages that I've received from cats and dogs, mostly cats and dogs, but birds, horses, rabbits, and gerbils, and even a rat. But there are so many from dogs that I wanted to collect them as just a book for dogs. And I will have a book about cat stories, but that's a couple of years from now.
Well, I remember talking about, I've seen, it convinced me of spirits on the other side of pets is I saw my cat. My real first pet that I really had was a cat named Patches, and I saw her. Like, I could just see the outline of her in the dark lit room with a little bit lit from the moon, and I could hear her purr and could see her. Ever then, I know there's no denying to me in the afterlife. She's one of the most biggest proofs of the afterlife is my cat, because it was one of the most real experiences of a spirit I'd ever had. I mean, I've had a lot of weird stuff. Everybody's heard it, but that was so real, so physically right there. I could almost feel like I could just pet her.
Yeah, I've had similar experiences. I've talked to so many people that have had the same kind of thing.
Well, I know it's been a year since you've been on. I like to, we're streaming out to Twitch. Hi, Twitch. Yeah, we're not like some pirating thing. I'm decided to start streaming out to Twitch. But they're like, why do they have 258 episodes? And this is like 0 followers. I just started. Anyways, for new people I haven't seen you, Rob, you're a meteorologist. Like you said, you definitely backed in science how you approach things. But how did this all start? Since a teenager, you've been having this ability, but what really led you to start really exploring it and letting people know, hey, I communicate with spirits? That's a big step.
Yeah, well, Jason, I don't let everybody know, but
right.
I let people that need to know that I have this gift, if you would. So, as you mentioned in the intro, yeah, I was a teenager when I first got the ability, but I kind of ignored it as I was getting my life together, and it wasn't until Buzz passed away in 2005 that you mentioned. For the folks on, this is Buzz here, and Buzz was a Weimaraner, and he was only 7 months old when he passed away because he was he was killed by a car when his leash opened, and you never get over that. You never get over that. especially the traumatic deaths. We all expect our children, our fur kids, to live a long life. So it makes it harder to deal with grief. But anyway, so he reopened the doors for me. And then it was a matter of figuring out, what were my thoughts versus what were somebody else's thoughts from the other side.
Right. Well, that's one of, speaking of that, his name is Buzz. I'm getting a slight buzz from your mic line, actually, a little bit. As you said that, I'm like, let me see, it might be your volume input. Oh, that made it worse. Oh, that's making it worse. That was whatever you were doing. Like, for a second, it sounded like it was going to get better, and then it made it worse. But I think we're good. It's in and out. All right. Okay. Touching it didn't help. All right. Hopefully it doesn't get too worse. Hopefully it's all right. It's slight. I'm on audio file. Sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt your train of thought on that. I hear a buzz. I'm like, oh boy. But losing that pet, I mean, for me, losing my dogs just recently, I wasn't there when I lost Patches. I was away. My mom called and told me, but like for having our own pets, these were the first fur babies me and my wife had together. We got married and we got Bella within not long after being married. She lived 16 years. I mean, for a dog, that's pretty good. I gave her a good life. Yeah. But that, I don't know if you've listened to any of my past shows where this happened, or if you saw my post about this. What was incredible about that is only a year before, it was really a year before her death. I had this dream where we were going behind the veterinary clinic, and they had her laid out on a blanket, and the sun was setting, and they were putting her down, and it was so emotional. And I remember both my boys were there, and they're crying, and I remember Liam placing a little flower next to her head. I remember all that, and I wrote it off because I'm like, why would we put our dog down outside? They don't do that. That's before I knew there was going to be a pandemic and things would be different and change. And I also thought at the time, like, why would I bring my kids? I would never bring my kids. We were forced to. My parents can't watch the kids because of coronavirus. All these factors I didn't know. But that moment there, it was heartbreaking. Like, I'm still depressed about it. And this is not even getting to the next dog that dies 3 weeks later. But that moment of being able to see it before it happened, and that realization while I'm sitting there saying goodbye to her, it's like, oh my God, I dreamt all this. Like, while it's going on, it was like just like everything stood still as she passed. And it was the first time I had to be there to put a dog down, put any animal down. I've gone with my mom when she had to put one of her cats down, but I've never been there for that. And it's traumatizing. I feel like horrible that my kids had to be there for it. And for the second. And then Asia, 3 weeks later, it's just like she let go too, because Bella was gone. And she was Bella was 17, sorry, and Asia was 15. So that they both lived long times and knew each other. I'll tell you what, though. After they passed, my son, my wife, and me heard Asia. Mm-hmm. And she was a pug, so she had this nose thing. You could hear her nose, and her breathing, we could hear it afterwards. I think so many people I know in this chat room have pets and had these experiences and know it's real. For you to just suddenly come out, most mediums are like, it's hard enough to get out there and tell people you're talking to a dead loved one, but to go out there and say, I'm talking to your pet who didn't talk to you in life, even though they really do in their own way.
They do.
But the interesting thing is that they have this kind of communication with you or anyone, I think. On the other side is it a verbal communication, or is it mental images? What is the communication?
That's a good question, and it comes a lot of different ways. So pets can communicate words to me, and they show me an awful lot of pictures. But they learn a lot of words while they grow up with us, just like kids do.
Yeah.
And they're able to repeat those things back to me. I can tell you a story that just happened in a reading this past week that actually kind of flipped me out too. It's so to me amazing that pets can communicate the way they do. So in this particular in this particular story, a woman had written me and told me that her cat had passed, and her cat's name was Buddy, and that's all she said. She said, I would like to know if Buddy's okay, and she had a couple of medical related questions, which I was able to answer, because Buddy usually pets will communicate the way they feel before they pass. And, I'm sitting here at the computer, and if I get a pain in my left leg, it would be their left rear leg. If I get a pain in my arm, it's their front. It's their front.
I watch mediums do that with people in readings all the time, but you do it even with pets. They communicate through that way. Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy. Doing that, but one of the key things, the thing that really blew her away, and me too, was that her cat told me that the word mala, M-A-L-A, was special and personal and important, and I don't even know what that word means.
Right.
I've never seen it. I've never seen that word. So I wrote it. I typed the reading, and I said, you're probably going to think I'm crazy, but this is what I got. This is what I heard from Blue.
Yeah.
So she wrote me back and she said, I can't believe that you heard that, because that's the name of the meditation I do every morning, and only he knows that. He's the only one in my room every morning when I do this meditation.
Yeah. Well, I think they've proven scientifically, at least for dogs, and I mean sure cats, they're so smart, do have like a 40-50 vocabulary they can at least understand. I think it's probably way more. I know my dogs definitely understood words, and plenty of words in my house, and all you had to say, my wife used to say, what is it, clean up in aisle 11, and Bella would come running, because she knew when she said that she was joking, because she dropped food on the floor.
Yeah.
Yes. That's a whole phrase that she understood what it meant. So intelligent.
There are border collies that have actually memorized 1,000 different words.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing that's interesting too is that dogs can actually see some colors. They can see yellow and blue, and everything else is shades of gray. And I've been doing a lot of reading about the physiology of dogs and so forth. So that's fascinating, because we have a dachshund who's 10 named Tyler, and the only toys that he really plays with are yellow. So we have the little Woodstock, Snoopy Woodstock toy that's yellow. We now have about 12 of them, because those are the only ones he plays with.
Oh yeah. No, I think I remember that with Bella when she was a puppy. She had a certain color she would go for her, and I might have been yellow, probably because that's what they can see. They can see certain colors. I always thought that too, that they were colorblind, but yeah, I had found out that they do see some color. Some dogs do, at least. So that's the thing. Most people are just believing that you could communicate with dogs or cats or any animal, because, like, what are you, Dr. Doolittle? How do you talk to them? They didn't speak English. Well, they understood enough words. If you think about your pets, they understood plenty of words, to be able to, at least on the other side, there's some way able to communicate.
Sure, and they also interpret our emotions too. So that's really key, and they share those things too. So that's part of the communication. They know we're happy when we're sad, when we're sick, when we're depressed. They either stay with us when we're sick and sad, and run the other way when we're angry. We have a little dachshund Chihuahua mix who, if you're watching TV and you shout out for some reason, he's out of the room in 1 second.
The little dogs, man. Oh, I see. They also have the little dog syndrome, like, don't hurt me, and jump at everything. Like, that's how my little Asia was. She was the black pug we had. But yeah, they and then the other thing is they all, people think they're just dogs. It kind of drives me nuts. I know people, I won't say names, people in family maybe, that were like, they were raised with livestock, and they treat all animals like kind of that way. And I'm not trying to be harsh on it. I'm not. It's just that they look at them differently. Like, like, just put them down, or whatever. It's just an animal to them. And I'm like, they all have their own personalities. Every single pet has their own personality. You can tell. If you're a pet lover or owner, they all have their own little personalities. They're not, there's something to it. It can make you become a vegetarian When you think about it, when you really start thinking about it, because I know people that say that even with cows and other things, that they have their own personalities, and you start getting into that, and you're like, I don't know if I want this hamburger. Animals do; they have their own soul and personality. I totally 100% believe that.
Yeah. Yeah, and so in my first Pets in the Afterlife book, I mentioned that a scientist, Gregory Burns, in Emory University in Atlanta, had used MRIs to prove that animals have the same exact emotions that people have. He got his dog and other dogs in the lab, of his lab mates rather, to sit still for MRIs. And what they did is they would bring up all the different lab people to each dog, and the dog only responded with the same reaction of love when the pet parent was there, not anybody else. So the caudate of their brain, the caudate section of their brain, lit up basically in the MRIs. So he proved that animals have the same exact emotions that people have.
Oh, to me, you didn't have to prove it. Like, you can look and look; they have expressions on their faces. I mean, Bella used to have a smile. That's what killed me towards the end. Is that decision? Like, is it time? I dreaded the day, and I feel lucky to have had my dogs live as long as they did. I mean, it was last year before, a neighbor of mine's dog was only 8 months old, ran out in the street and was killed. And I was there. I had to wheel the body off the street. She was so devastated. It broke my heart because, she was her baby and he was gone. Barely any time with him. I had to bring a wheelbarrow and take him out of the street and calm her down. It was horrible. So it reminds me, I'm lucky. I'm lucky I had my dogs and they got to live till very old ages for dogs. But it's that decision, is it time? There's part of me that still thinks did I make the right choice? Did I do the right thing? I know I did. I know, but I still wonder.
So that's one of the questions I get most often from people who want a reading from their pet. Did I make the right decision? And honestly, you really have to pay attention to what your pet is telling you. If you're so when I was finishing Pets in the Afterlife 3, we lost 2 of our 4 dogs. One was 16, Franklin, who was a dachshund, and the other one was almost 16. She was a Weimaraner named Dolly, and she was kind of my heart dog. And both of them, interestingly enough, suffered the same exact thing that led to their passing, and that was a disc in their back suddenly slipped pretty quickly. Slower for Franklin, and he was in pain all the time. He had 2 different pain medicines, and then over time he couldn't walk anymore. And we knew it was time for him. But with Dolly, it happened within 24 hours. And she couldn't walk, and we knew she was frustrated. We could, when you're a pet parent like you are, you can tell if they're frustrated with themselves. And that's often what pets will tell me from the other side. My body's not doing what I want. I'm really frustrated. I'm really tired of battling this. Thank you for letting me go. And that's exactly what happened. So pay attention.
I mean, it was like we were kept on she had a bad spell, Bella did. And we're like, is it time? And then she seemingly got better, started to gain weight because she was having this whole thing where she was losing weight. She was, even though she was eating, it was weird. And she was still losing weight. And then she started to gain some weight. And then one night she got off the table a turkey from Thanksgiving, gobbled that down. I'm like, that's not going to be good. And that's when everything went downhill with her. And my wife was so upset. It's my fault. I'm like, no, it was Bella. She was had the iron stomach. That dog, I don't know how many times she ate something. I thought that was it. With that dog, I'm surprised she didn't cost me a huge vet bill because she would be fine. She ate everything. And but that last turkey bone was it. And after that, she stopped eating. And I think for me, the sign is when she would go to a corner and stick her nose in the corner. And some people told me, if you see that, that's them telling, that's it. It's time. And I just told my wife, I said that we got to take her in. That's it.
Yeah. So So for the folks who are watching, there are a couple of different ways that pets that I know of will let you know. Number one, they stop eating.
Yeah.
You know, number two, they distance themselves from you. So when our dog Franklin passed, who was 16, we used to go after dinner. We would sit in the den and we would watch television, and we would bring all the dogs, or all the dogs would actually follow us. And when Franklin was having trouble, you know, as his disc was slipping, we would carry him in, but he would find the strength to get up and walk out of the room and go sit in the kitchen by himself. Yep. And that was really an indication to us that he was just tired.
Yeah, Bella did that too. We would try to, like, because we knew we was getting time, so we'd try to bring her in the living room, and she'd just get up and go back into the kitchen. When she would always whine and want to come with us in the living room, half the time, by the end, the last couple of years of her life or longer, they had no bladder control. So it was with 2 kids in the house and 2 dogs, it was always cleaning up. You know, it was a nightmare for that. You know, we don't go through so much paper towel anymore now that they're gone, but. It's still weird. I like even today, Rob. I was sitting downstairs, and I could have swore I heard Bella's, just the way she would like do a like sigh, like. And I've been thinking about her, knowing I'm doing this show. I've been thinking about her all day, and I heard that sigh once tonight, right before the show, when I was getting ready.
So in the I think in the next half hour, I would like to tell you about some signs from Dolly and Franklin, because Dolly especially has been extraordinarily active from spirit, and some similar stories to what you experienced.
Well, we got time. We had about a half an hour before we go to our commercial break. So you got time if you want to go ahead and get into that now. And when we go to the next commercial break, we're going to open up the phone lines too.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. So here's a picture of Pets in the Afterlife 3. On the cover there is Dolly, my Weimaraner, and Franklin down below. And it's better to have a picture to be able to see them.
Actually, Rob, there's really quick though. Rob Autry, it is in the Dropbox if you want to bring that up so we can share an actual good picture of the book, so you just have to hold it up. It is in there. We'll get the picture up. Sorry, go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, the book is much nicer to look at than me. So please show the book, especially at this hour. Thank you. So there are a number of things that I'll share. I'll start with Franklin. One thing that's interesting is that it is similar to what you experience, and that is you can hear them. Often people will report that they've heard collars jingle or nails on the floor. Or you may hear a bark or a meow or something but it always sounds like it's coming from another room. And that's because it takes a lot of energy from spirit to generate that kind of noise. So after Franklin had passed, it was the night after Franklin had passed, my partner was in the other room, and he was in the den watching TV, and I was outside with the other dogs. I had taken the other dogs for a walk, and when I came back, he said, I heard Franklin bark in the kitchen.
Oh, wow.
And he said, I know you were outside with the other dogs. And he said, it just kind of freaked me out. But he said at the same time, it was comforting. And Franklin did that again, actually. It was months later. I think it was the month before Dolly passed. And Dolly and Franklin grew up together. They were both, almost the same age. Tom came into the relationship with Franklin. I came into the relationship with Dolly. We both just adopted him that year that we met. So they grew up like brother and sister. So anyway, we were outside, and I heard Franklin bark from the sun porch, and we were all standing outside, and our other, 3 dogs were out in the backyard, and I heard him so loudly that I actually went into the sun porch.
Oh wow!
To see if I could visibly see him, because I was stunned.
Yeah,
loud. I was outside, so.
And see, that's what amazes me is that not only you hear them, or that is, if they have to physically manifest that's how strong their spirits are. That they're here. I mean, I always wonder in paranormal cases, when things are getting really weird, are we dealing with an actual spirit of a person who died, or was this an animal? Like, things can get that kind of weird with it. Some of these animals have such great personalities; they bleed over when they pass to the other side. And with Bella in Asia and her, I think the skeptic part of me knows that maybe we were hearing her sounds of her breathing or snorts because it's like a 24/7 sound in the house, and now that it's gone, our brains are just replaying it. But one of the times it replayed it, it did it when me and my son were both in the kitchen. He goes, "Did you hear that?" And I go, "Yeah." So for us both to hear it at the same time makes me seriously doubt it's just our brains replaying something. I really do think that was her trying to let us know she was okay.
Yeah, absolutely, and the same thing goes for people too. And pets have an easier time listening to hearing spirits. By the way, they can hear it at higher frequencies. If you think of a dog whistle, we can't hear that, but they can. So, and that's why on a paranormal investigation, my team uses digital recorders to try and pick those spirit voices up. But one October, I remember being in bed. My partner went to work. I was in bed, and I put all 3 dogs on the bed, and I heard my dad, who passed in 2008, call my voice. I call my name rather. I could hear his voice loud and clear, and all 3 dogs turned their head to the kitchen where the voice was coming from.
They heard it.
Yeah, they heard it too.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
First time, when we had just moved into my home, I had one night where I was passed out on the couch, and I woke up to my dog Bella growling. And right as I turned to look at what she's growling at, I saw this guy in my house. I believe it was the guy who built this house, who he died on the property.
Wow.
So but she could see him, and I could see him in that split second, because I know that's why she was growling. She was looking right at the spot where I see him like walk out, and then he vanishes. So I'm like, yep, we both saw that. You always felt better with a dog by my side in those cases. I kind of miss her presence. So it would be my guard dog when things like suddenly follow us home from investigations, or the guy Bob that built this house decides to show up, though he seems to be a nice one.
Well, so that brings up another thing about the way pets can sense spirits and ghosts. So I just talked about how they can hear them, but they can also see them because they have different rod configuration in their eyes. And what I've come to find out is that they will freak out sometimes at the sight of a spirit visiting or a ghost, because they may be able to see them, but they can't smell them.
Oh,
yeah, and for pets, for dogs especially, they use scent to figure things out. That's why dogs who are blind are pretty good at getting around, because they smell their way through the house.
Oh, Bella did. She was blind her last year or so of life. She was completely blind, and I would be amazed how she'd find her way around, but she could.
Yeah, so that's why they freak out if they see a spirit, but they can't smell a spirit at the same time. It just takes too much energy from a spirit to generate both scent and sight. So
I never thought about that, about why dogs would freak out. That makes a lot of sense. Because they can't smell them. It's totally abnormal to their senses to see a person walking and have no scent. They also have a good, what, I'll tell you what, dogs also have a good sense of people. My Bella, I swear there's certain people she did not like. It was good, and she had good instincts, and I've heard other people say that about their dogs. My dog don't like you, I don't. Dogs sometimes know real bad people.
Well, Jason, I have to tell you, that's how Tom and I knew that we were, right for each other, because his dog Franklin liked me, and my dog Dolly liked him, and I said, okay, as long as the kids like each other, we can put up with each other. Right. Well,
it wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have worked otherwise. But yeah, dogs do have, I swear, a good sense of people. They can even tell when, I swear they can tell when somebody's a abuser of pets. Like they can sense it on them. You know, they just, like I said, they have instincts and knowledge. You know, people think they're just, you know, animals or livestock or creatures, and you know, they don't have a soul. I'm like, just look into their eyes, you'll see that they have a personality, they have a soul, and they got a lot. They think a lot more than you could ever understand.
Yes. So what you brought up abusers. So one of the questions that I often get is that will my pet is a rescue and they came from an abusive family.
Oh, yeah.
Will they be with me on the other side, or will they be with the other family on the other side? And the answer to that question is that they will be with the family that gave them the love. They will be with the latter family.
Of course.
They will not return to the former family in the spirit. So that's really important. Our Dachshund Chihuahua mix, who's now 13,
yeah,
he came to us at 11, and he came from an abusive family. I mean, and this family was quite not so bright. Because on the form where they filled out to turn him into the shelter, they wrote that they had a little girl who would constantly pull the dog's tail until he cried, and then the dog bit her. And then the mother kicked the dog. Now this is an 8-pound dog.
Jesus.
So, and they wrote this on the turn-in form, and I was like, it's a good thing they didn't put their address there, because I would be in trouble. So when we brought this dog into our home, we realized that we had to adopt him, because as it turned out, whenever our female friends or neighbors would come over, he would shake and shiver in fear. Because he was abused by a little girl and by the mother. And it's now 3 years that we've had him.
Yeah.
About last year, he finally started being okay with everybody.
With females now? Or?
Yeah. It took a couple of years.
You got to earn the dog's trust, because it was broken by awful human beings.
Yeah.
You know, I'll never. One of my earliest childhood memories. I lived in this trailer park. It was just me and my mom at that time. It might have been when, it was before she met my dad, my stepdad. And there was a guy, and he was trying to pound this little. I don't know if it was a puppy. It was a really little dog. And he was trying to pound it with his fist on the cement. Like he bent down and was like trying to beat it.
What?
And I was a little kid. I picked up this rock and pelted him in the head. He didn't know which kid threw the rock. He was like blaring, yelling, and I remember the lady actually ran the whole trailer park, came out of the office, and it was like, what is going on? What are these kids threw a rock? And we're all like, he was beating the dog. She told him off. She's like, what are you going to do? Hit a kid? Get out of here. You know. But yeah, I mean, I learned at an early age, people can be real big pricks to animals. I don't want to say it PG wise. I want to say a lot worse. I mean, my wife tells me stories. She'll read stuff. I'm like, I don't want to see. I don't want to know. It's just horrible what people will do. You know, I wonder what the consequences are for the people that do these things when they get to the other side. They always say there's life reviews, and they'll make them feel what it is that the other people. I hope they do that for them for the animal part, like what it feels. What they get to be in the animal's experience and feel what the animal felt.
Oh yeah.
Well, when they did this, I hope that's how it is.
Yeah, they will. At least emotionally, they will, and often they'll stay behind because of that.
Yeah. Well, like a haunting. Yeah.
They'll stay earthbound as a ghost. And, quite frankly, I have to say this, I have no sympathy.
If you go to cross somebody over and you're like, oh, wait a second, you abuse pets. Sorry, buddy. No crossing you over.
Yeah. Somebody talking to me?
I don't hear anybody. I don't know about a doorway to the other side or a light. Don't go to the light.
Haven't seen it. No, just kidding.
But that's what I'm saying. Like sorry to bring it up, but like the whole Michael Vick and there's no forgiveness for me. You do dog fighting. I hate you. I hate you. I'm sorry. I hate you. It's awful human beings being awful. It may like I said, sometimes, and if I get down to it, if I look at the way we process meat, I do want to sometimes be a vegetarian because we're awful to the animals we kill for that too. And humans are awful to animals in general. If I was an animal, I wouldn't have anything to do with you. You have to really earn my trust. And that's what it is with dogs. You have to earn their trust.
Sure. And, also, too, I've been doing dog rescue for over 10 years, and I've seen a lot of abuse cases.
I bet.
That were just horrendous. Dogs that never even saw the light of day or didn't know what grass was.
That's so sad.
Yeah. But I will say that every dog, they're like children. They're like human children. I mean, it depends on how you bring them up. If you bring them up to fight another dog, then that's what they learned.
Yep.
Because of you. I used to be somewhat afraid of pit bulls. But
yeah, that's a good example.
I realized that pit bulls can be actually really docile.
Oh, they're such good dogs.
Yeah,
They really are.
And it really depends on who brings them up.
Yep.
We live near 2 major cities, and in one city is kind of famous for bringing up pit bulls to defend their house. And there have been pit bull attacks and so forth. But again, it's the way you bring them up. Every animal deserves a good home, and not to hate other people.
No, I when I was a kid, I learned that lesson early on too about dogs. I always swear if I had a dog, I would never want it to be a home defense dog. You come in and rob my stuff, leave my poor animals alone. Leave my animals. Take whatever you want. I always worried about that breaking in. Don't hurt my dogs. And I've never had a dog that would ever be considered an attack dog, even though both Bella and Asia, little black pug, would, if somebody came up to the door, be like, "Oh, I ain't going in there." Little dogs that sound a little like they're going to eat your head off.
They do.
But when I was a little kid, I had, not to speak ill of the dead, but I have an uncle who's passed away now, and he did many things I didn't like. And one of the things I remember, he had this Doberman Pinscher, and when I first met the dog, I was a little kid, and this is one of the reasons why I didn't go back to my uncle's house, because I was so angry, and I was a little kid and understood this. When I first met the dog, it was really sweet. Like as I met it, it was bigger. It was probably just a year old when I first met it. It was a really sweet dog. And I didn't go over to my uncle's house very often. I think by the next year that I went back over there for another visit, that dog was completely different. It was scary. It was like, "I'm going to kill you." Like, it looked at me like, "I'm going to kill you if I get near you." And all the kids were told, "Don't go near the dog." Why? Because my uncle, being the dumbass that he is, wanted a tough dog to scare people away, and tortured it and made it mean. And I'm like, that's really stupid. You got all these children around for one. Eventually, guess what? They bit someone. You had to put it down because he was an idiot. And that's what I berate people. Do not get a dog to be a defense dog. Don't do that. Only dogs should be trained in that kind of aggression or police dogs.
Exactly.
And I'm not a big fan of that, honestly. Yeah. I have my qualms with that a little bit. I mean, I know cops that are canine units. They love their dogs like they are their partner. It's not disrespect on the cops with the dogs. It isn't. The military application really bothers me with animals. I'm really against animals being used in anything military wise. Sorry, get robots. I don't care. Don't use dogs or dolphins with bombs and radar crap on them. Don't. We abuse this damn planet enough. Do we have to use animals for weapons? No. Exactly. I can get dogs for canine units. I get dogs. They save lives and they help the police. I get that. But people train their dogs to be home defense. Screw you. Would you train your child to be a guard dog of your house? That's how I look at it.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah. Because they really are children.
Yeah. Do you want to teach your child to be a rabid, hate everybody and want to be a sociopath? I mean, would you do that with your child? Some people might, but...
Well, we have prisons full of those people.
Right. Well, yeah. Actually says a lot about... We do that. Some people do that to their children, sadly, but... Yeah. But that's the thing, it depends on the people. I think there's a large group, vast amount of people like us that, we view our pets as our responsibility, our babies. We're going to take care of them. We want to give them a good life. And there's other people who look at them as tools or objects or livestock, if that.
So I wanted to bring up another aspect of Dolly and Franklin. First of all, the book is filled. I think there's like 61 chapters, and every chapter is a different dog, and they're alphabetical. And there's like 60 there's 120 ways or whatever that in the book that you can learn how your pets communicate from the other side. But one important thing that people also ask me is that who is on the other side waiting for my pet? And the answer is that either your relatives in spirit or friends in spirit are over there, humans, and your other pets are also waiting. So the morning before Dolly passed, I'd like to describe for you a very revealing and emotional experience that I had. If that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I'm going to get a little choked up here because that's just the way I am. So on a previous program, we talked about one of my other books called Kindred Spirits. Kindred Spirits is how I befriended the spirit of a man that I never met in life, but he's been around for the last 15 years. He's my husband's late partner.
Right.
He's always there when we need him. Always there. And when Dolly was going to pass, he showed up again.
Oh, wow.
So the morning we knew Dolly was we were going to help Dolly cross over. We had a vet actually come to the house. It was October 22nd. Fortunately, we had a nice day. It was like 75 degrees and sunny out. So we did the same thing that you experienced. We took her out in the backyard and had our dogs around her, our other two dogs, so they could actually see that she passed.
I wish I could have done that.
Yeah, and that's important too, that our dogs need to realize that. But they do get it afterward because our dogs in spirit will show up. Anyway, so we knew that was the day. That night, I did what I always did. I slept on the kitchen floor next to her bed. She was, by the way, incontinent with number 1 and number 2. She was wearing a diaper. This is a 70-pound dog. And the dog that's bonded to her, our little 10-year-old dachshund Tyler, always slept next to me on the floor. Well, he slept in his little bed. 3 o'clock in the morning, Dolly woke up out of a sound sleep, turned her head, and looked toward the laundry room from the kitchen. And she wouldn't put her head down. And I kept saying, put your head down, put your head down. And she wouldn't. And I thought, okay, what the heck is over there? So I looked. Well, standing there at the door was my mom and dad and Ed and our other dogs that passed.
Yeah.
And it was just for like 2 seconds. But they were there to tell me that they were going to be there when she crossed over. It was confirmation to me that it was the right time. But again, it was also really hard to see that they were there. But at least I knew that she would be going with them. So that is a confirmation that our loved ones are on the other side. And 2 days later, our friend Ruthie Larkin, the Beantown medium, texted me and she said, Rob, I have to write all this stuff down because Dolly is coming through to me, and she said that she's with your mom and dad and another guy, kind of a middle-aged adult, young adult, and your other 2 dogs.
Just like you saw.
Just like I saw. And I gotta tell you, Jason, I was just bawling like a baby. Very
I don't know. It's that's the thing. What I said about Bella's passing, the way the sunset, the way it was, everything that the way it was beautiful. Mm-hmm. But it was I can't even describe it. Even though it was so sad and it hurt. I mean, hurt so much. It was also beautiful. Like I couldn't have wished for a better passing for my dog. I really couldn't have. I couldn't have wished for a more peaceful passing, except for maybe my son really losing it. That was the hardest part of that one. But I couldn't ask for a more beautiful thing, and to give a year warning. because even my boss at work remembered me talking about the dream because he's a dog. Him and his husband, they have fur babies, and I had told him, I had this horrible dream, so emotional, Bella passing. I wonder if she's going to make it another year, And he remembered me telling him that. And then when she died, and I started saying, I dreamt about this. He goes, I remember you telling me about that dream. Wow. I'm like, yeah, it was exactly to the T, I hope, my grandmother who passed away, I was really close to, always took in dogs. Like her rescues were the ones that came to her because people would dump off the dog. One of the worst, I hate people. People that dump off puppies or dogs they don't want anymore off in the middle of the woods.
Yeah.
And my grandma, all their dogs, I think, were pretty much rescues that way. Dogs that would just wander into their property, and my grandmother would slowly gain their trust. She was a master of it, of gaining their trust, and got them not to be wild or whatever. There was wild packs of dogs out there she had no chance at that would like hunt us kids down. That's how many people dumped dogs out there. It was that regular out in the country. It's sickening.
Wow. Well, it must have been your grandmother then that triggered that dream that you had.
I wonder.
Yeah, if she was an avid dog lover, then there has to be a person in spirit who had
coordinates, maybe.
Yeah, coordinated that dream, and it was probably her.
If I had to guess anyone, yeah, my grandmother, because she was a definitely dog lover. They always had dogs when I was a kid. I didn't have dogs as a kid. I had one dog once. The first time I ever got a dog, it didn't last long because it was just me and my mom, and she was always working, so we were never home. That poor dog didn't stand a chance. Ended up eating all my Star Wars toys. That was the first time I ever had a dog, and I was a horrible. I'm going to relive this. If my one time I abused a dog, I was only 4 or 5 years old, and that's why I tell people, watch your kids with your dogs, because she chewed up all my Star Wars toys, and then I put her in a toy box, and my mom could hear the whimpering. She's like, "Where's the dog?" I'm like, "I don't know." When I'm sitting on the toy box, then she peed all over my toys. So I learned early on. My mom was mortified. She's like, "Okay, the dog's got to go. You treated it bad." So I learned early on, not to treat animals bad. I was only 4 or 5, but my mom was like, "You're done. You're not gonna have a dog if you can treat it that way." And she's also because she couldn't do it. She couldn't do it. That's the other thing. If you're gonna get a dog, people, make sure you have the time to give that dog. Some people get dogs in small apartments. They'll get this big, huge dog, have a small apartment, and be gone all day. I'm like, that poor dog.
Yeah, it's a lifetime commitment, really.
Exactly.
Years, yeah.
And more power to you, that you and your husband take in rescues. So much power to you for doing that, because so many of these dogs, people want, they want. I'll admit it. Our Bella and Asia, we both got as puppies, but I told my wife, if we ever do dogs again, which is going to be a long time, I want to do rescues. I want to take dogs in nobody wants. That's how I want to do it. We have a friend that does that. She just had another dog pass. She takes them in when they're elderly, when nobody, people have given them up and nobody wants them. It's beautiful.
I can't understand why people would give up a dog.
I don't get it either.
Old age. I
don't get it.
No. Would you dump your mother off? On the road.
Some people do. 65? Some people do, not out in the middle of the road, but sometimes they dump them off in a nursing home, and never see them again.
Or sometimes people pass and then their pets are left over.
That happens too.
After.
Yeah, that my grandfather, my grandmother passed on. My grandfather's still alive, and they gave him a cat. I'm like, why did you do that? Because he's always had dogs, and he kind of fell in love with a cat. And I'm like, it's a bad idea. I think they had to take the cat back. You don't got to get a pet. My grandpa, even my grandmother, who she ended up having Alzheimer's, as she knew that was coming on, she's like, no, we can't take any more dogs. We can't rescue any more dogs. After the last dog, her dog was Scooter. It was the last one she passed away. She knew, like, I'm not going to be able to take care of it, and we're not going to be around long enough for another dog.
But that's a great point, though. So that said, one of our rescue dogs that was actually a foster failure came from an elderly couple where the woman passed away and the husband went into assisted living or a nursing home.
Right.
And he couldn't take care of the dog.
That's so sad.
So, and the grown kids didn't want the dog. So this little dog who was 10 years old when he came to us, had to start all over again. And I have to tell you that the elderly folks that had him never took him to the vet. So when we got him, he had to have 22 teeth removed.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he had to be spayed. I mean, he had to be neutered, rather. He had ear mites. He had a really bad heart murmur. He was in terrible, terrible condition. And I remember I picked him up in December in Western Maryland for the rescue.
Yeah.
And I had to drive home, which was about an hour and a half, with the windows down because his breath was so awful from the rotted.
Yeah, all the decayed teeth.
Yeah. The best thing that could have ever happened to him is that one of the parents passed away and that he came to us, and we wound up adopting him. I mean, you couldn't, you just couldn't let him go. But.
Yeah. Well, at least he has a better end of life for him, to be raised. And I'm sure, elderly couple love the dog, but they get to a point they don't even realize what's happening with the dog.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
And we, we hear from him still. He passed in 2013. He used to grunt. He used to, and actually it's the same kind of grunt that my father-in-law does. It was like, and we couldn't tell the difference between who it was when they were, when Sprite was alive. But so every now and then we'll hear a grunt, but Sprite has been sending signs. One of the other signs that I wanted to tell you about with Dolly is that pets can lead us to another pet that looks like them.
Oh, I've had exactly, my parents really and us. We had that exact experience. Hold that. Can we hold that thought? Because we're going to go to commercial break. That's a really good one. I really believe in that. I experienced that, quite literally experienced that, with them leading you to another pet that looks just like them. Mm-hmm. I had that exact experience with a cat, 2 cats. So that's a good one. We're going to lead off on that and come back from this commercial break. When we do, we also will open up the phone lines, guys, so you can call into the show, share your experiences, or if you have a question for Rob. Rob, I want to just clarify, you don't do readings over the phone or on the show. I don't think you don't do that, right?
Yeah, I prefer not to because I really need to see a picture of the dog. But James Watkins is in the chat, and I did a reading for him that he probably can tell you about.
James, you're welcome to call in. All the phone lines are open. If you call in, just remember, I might have to hang up on you because the phone lines are full, but wait to call in when we come back from this short commercial break.
Into the combined effects of sensory deprivation and hallucinatory drugs. The subject of the experiment is himself, and the experiment is out of control. Ken Russell's Altered States, a film that must not be missed, is in the West End now. Altered States, Certificate X.
Do you wish for more paranormal and spiritual content? The Paranormal Chronicles magazine is a free digital magazine crammed with the very best in paranormal and spiritual articles and features. No sign-up, no subscription, just free reading and knowledge for you. Read today at www.theparanormalchronicles.com/magazine.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope.
That'll do. Hello, I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
The night is alive. Join us and take a walk on the weird side when you tune in to the Kingdom of Nye, hosted by Heather Wade, the finest in late night talk. Listen live free weeknights starting at 9 p.m. Pacific time at thekingdomofnye.com, talkstreamlive.com, and the Paranormal Radio app. Wanna take a ride?
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Paranation Magazine is a new paranormal magazine based out of Denver, Colorado. Our goal isn't just to give you the best paranormal content out there, but to promote paranormal unity. We're doing this by giving everyone an opportunity to tell their stories and to share their experiences. For more information, follow us on Facebook at Paranation Magazine and soon, paranationmag.com.
I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is the extraordinary travels of a young, alone, and broke psychic in the highly anticipated new book from internationally renowned psychic, medium, medical intuitive, and best-selling author Sherry Dillard. Critics have described I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like as an engrossing memoir, an empowering story of how a broken girl came to accept her psychic gift, a refreshing and fun read. I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is available through Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, and wherever books are sold.
Tired of school?
Who was Joan of Arc?
Noah's wife? Like to travel?
Let's go back into history. Let's reach out and touch someone.
Want to meet people in the past?
Put them in the Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden? Excellent! Execute them. Bogus.
Then hitch a ride with George Carlin, Keanu Reeves, and Alex Winter in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure from Orion Pictures.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Left on the house at 8%. So they're okay. So, does anybody want to play Parcheesi? Okay, who brought the dog?
Paranormal Soup, bringing you the weird every Sunday night. Call into the show and join the discussion. The call-in lines are 219-230-4444 or 260-225-9419 or by Skype caller ID OOJBlandOO or JBland Paranormal Soup. And now to your host, Jason Bland.
Tonight we're talking to our guest, Rob Gutro. He's the author of Pets and The Afterlife. He has 3 books on this series. This newest one we've been talking about is Messages from Spirit Dogs. And, some people, don't believe that animals have souls. There's some religions say that. Tonight, one of the reasons I love having Rob on is that please look at your animal's eyes and really look. I can tell you can look right into your dog's eyes or a cat's eyes. They have souls. They are emotional, living creatures, and treat them as such. That's the main point of the, if anything you learn about spirit animals, while they're alive, treat them with respect. And, I know there's tons of people that do. I mean, heck, it's a whole industry of people spending all kinds of money on cats and dogs out there and treating them, they treat them better than they treat their children. I think my parents treat their dogs better than they ever treated me. Well, yeah, I'm sorry, Mom. I love you, but it's gonna be her birthday next Sunday when we do a show. But my parents, when I moved out, they got dogs, and I'm glad they did, because I think it's their new, retirement babies, I guess. But they're family members. They're like my little dog brothers, And it hurt when they lost one this last year, or it's been almost 2 years ago. And I know many people in the audience tonight, you've lost a pet. Well, tonight, call in, share your experience, especially the experiences you've had where you've got proof of them on the other side. I'd love to hear your stories tonight. But let's go ahead and get back to our guest. So, Rob, you were bringing up before we went to commercial break about how a deceased pet can lead you on to the next pet. And I want to hear what you had to say, because I have had this kind of experience.
Sure. So they will often tell us who they want us to adopt. And if they want us to adopt another dog or cat, I actually just did I did a reading just yesterday for someone who lost their dog, and one of the things that her dog was very adamant about saying is that her dog was a female, and her dog said, "I will lead my mom to the next dog I want her to adopt, but it will not be a boy. It will be a girl." So when the person wrote me back, she said, "That is so amazing that you got that message, because my dog has never liked male dogs."
That's that personality.
Yeah, absolutely.
So did you find out if that ended up happening for her? That she ended up finding a female dog, or?
Well, that was just yesterday, but no.
That was yesterday.
She hasn't, but okay. It's an example that dogs will direct who they want. But so. One of my favorite examples revolves around two dogs that are named similarly. A woman had written me and told me that her dog named Trigger had passed, and she said that she was very depressed, and she said she would not get another dog. She was not ready. Long story short, she was driving by SPCA. She was urged to stop in. She said she didn't know why she walked in. She walked all the way down to the end of the kennel, bent down, looked at the dog, fell in love, and the dog's name is Bullet.
Trigger and Bullet. Wow.
Trigger. Yeah, and those are the horses of Dale Evans and Roy Rogers. Trigger and Bullet. So she knew right away that Trigger had led her to Bullet, and that she had to adopt Bullet. And she did. She adopted the dog.
Yeah. That is awesome. The experience I had was with the cat Patches that I'd seen as a spirit. After she passed, I think it was 6 months after she passed, if I remember right. It was in June, 6th month, during the Bull 6 Championship. We're watching it, and Patches was a long-haired cat that had black with white, This cat shows up at our glass doors in the back. Me, my mom, and my dad are watching the Bulls. And this cat shows up, and it looks just like Patches. And we're like, what? Like, you imagine a freak out, And I had to bury Patches. That's how bad it hurt my parents. Like, it hurt. Wow. It was like it was really our first family pet as the four of us, the cat and my mom and dad. So because we got her from my aunt who couldn't take her to where she was living, and broke my aunt. We were just talking about it a couple months ago. She still, she was glad she gave her a good home, but it broke her heart. But seeing that, I thought it was a ghost of Patches after I'd seen her in my room. Well, eventually we found out this cat's been straying around our house. And my mom like started feeding, or my dad. It was my dad, because I was like, "Don't bring that cat in here, don't bring that cat in here," because that's how I am now. I'm like, I don't want another dog. I don't want to go through it again. So I get that defensive, like, or I don't know what you want to call, like it's a betrayal to my pet to get another pet. That's how I feel. Like when people are like, "Oh, your dog passed. Well, you could adopt a rescue or go get it." I'm like, do your mom passed or if your kid passed? I tell you, go adopt another kid. Like, just don't say that to people. People, don't say that. I know some people do. You mean well intentions, but don't, because I hate that. When I saw Six, I was like, no, don't let that cat in here. Well, my dad did, and I'm glad he did, because Six, my parents loved that cat too. But I always swear Patches led her to us. She was a short hair cat, unlike Patches, but her almost exact markings is really weird. And she, some people are like, "Oh, I remember as a kid, I'm like, is this a reincarnation of Patches?" And my mom had to tell me, like, when she took her to the vet to check her out, they're like, "No, she's like, I think 2 years old or a few years old and already had kittens somewhere." So she's like, "No, it can't be a reincarnation of Patches," but it's really odd how she showed up. And they named her Six because of all the sixes. My idea. The evil cat. Like we had like a love-hate relationship at first. Like she had to gain my trust, I had to gain hers, because I was still like, it's like a betrayal to Patches. We bring in this other stray cat. It never occurred to me that at that time that Patches might have led her to us. Doing this show and now talking to guests like you, I have always wondered if she did.
Yeah, she absolutely did lead her to you.
Yeah.
So there are kind of two things in there that we can talk about.
Yeah.
One of them is lookalikes. Lookalikes are a way that our pets in spirit will let us know that they're still there, and it's not necessarily that we will see the lookalike. In the instance of Dolly here, in the chapter I wrote about Dolly, and Dolly gave me, I don't know, probably like 10 or 20 signs, but she didn't give them all to me. She gave them to friends of mine that inquired about her in her last week. So in one instance, my friend Jane, who lives up in Massachusetts, I'm in Maryland, she's 400 miles away. She's never met Dolly. She's only seen Dolly in pictures, on social media and so forth, and she's known to Dolly. But the day Dolly passed, Jane said she was out for a walk, and she's been living in that neighborhood for many, many years. She went out for a walk, and she said she's never seen a Weimaraner, which is what Dolly's breed was.
Yeah.
In all the years she's been there. Well, she said a Weimaraner ran out of the woods, a wooded area, and stopped in front of her.
Wow.
And she thought, "Oh my God, that dog looks like Dolly. Dolly must have sent this dog to me to let me tell her dad that she's okay." And she said the dog turned around and took off. A similar thing happened to my friend Lisa, who lives in Maine, after Buzz died. After Buzz died, who was also a Weimaraner, she was out running, and a dog ran out of the woods, stopped in front of her, and she stopped, and it was a Weimaraner, just like Buzz. She stopped and she said, I remember her saying she looked at the tag, and the tag said the dog's name was Buzzy.
Buzzy?
Buzzy, yeah, with a Y.
Yeah.
Almost exactly the same. And the owner's name was Rob G, just like mine.
What?
Yeah. Beyond coincidence.
Wow, that's some synchronicity, man. That is crazy. That is crazy. I mean, like, the synchronicity is something like that. It's like the glitch in the Matrix, you see the double cat. I could say deja vu. That's the kind of stuff I'm thinking of. We do got somebody waiting on the phone line I want to get on here. We got Zach on the line. How you doing tonight, Zach?
I'm doing pretty good, brother. How you doing?
Doing good. Thanks for calling in.
All right. Normally I have a question, but I actually want to share two short stories tonight that piggybacks off of what you gentlemen were just discussing. So this happened about 11 years ago. We had a boxer. Her name was Brittany. she had gotten cancer, and unfortunately she passed away. And my mom was completely heartbroken after that because that was her dog.
Yeah.
Well, the following day, it was a Sunday, she got this urge to go down to the Maricopa County Animal Shelter. And she went there in the morning, and she called me up later in the morning, and she says, "Hey, can you bring down one of the beagles that we had at the time?" He was kind of like the alpha male a little bit, and he would assert his dominance, with the other dogs that we had. So she's like, "Hey, bring him down to meet up with this other dog that she was looking at." And I brought the dog down, and my mom had found this pit bull Queensland mix. His name was Zeke, and he had beautiful spots on him. And the dogs got along pretty well, and my mom was really attached to this particular dog. And she says, "Well, I'm going to adopt him." And come to find out, I mean, that dog, to me, by all means, that dog was my favorite dog that we ever had, despite all the stuff that happened later on. That dog was very chill, would very rarely bark, very protective, the whole 9 yards. Great dog. Flash forward, in between that, unfortunately, we did have to put Zeke down because he did kill 2 animals that I had mentioned before in the show. And my mom was completely heartbroken because the dog itself was not aggressive, but he would react to situations that were happening. If there were animals fighting, he would get involved. So they had to put the dog down. Well, in 2017, my fiance's mother, she actually found a dog in the back alley, and the dog had very similar spots to Zeke. And they tried to find an owner for the puppy, but couldn't locate anybody. Nobody came forward. So I showed my mother a picture of the dog, and instantly my mother said, "I want that dog." And that's how we came to end up with Daisy. So I just wanted to share those 2 stories because they really go hand in hand with each other, and it really backs off of what you 2 were saying.
Did you have any questions for our guest tonight, or just the 2 stories, Zach?
Just the 2 stories I wanted to share tonight. That's all.
No, it goes to show. Like I said, I definitely, for me, it was proven with the cat that took me years to accept it, but that they do lead them to your next pet. I don't know. For me, I'm still struck. I have, my wife keeps hitting on about getting another cat because we have a Siamese cat, beautiful little thing that she is, blue eyes and that, and she's had those dogs in her life all. She came into the their world, and all she's ever known was having those dogs. Well, ever since they've passed, that cat has been really weird. Like, she's clicking a lot, and she's got to be in our bedroom whenever we go to sleep now. My wife said, "Well, get another cat." I'm like, I don't think that'll help. I don't think that'll help. My experience of bringing another cat in is never a good idea. So it's hard when you move on to the next. If you get another pet, it's really it's a hard decision, I think. But thank you, Zach, for sharing tonight.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you so much for allowing me to call in. Everybody, you have a good night. All right.
All right. Bye, Zach. Phone lines are open, guys, too. You can still call in the 219-230-4444, or there's the 260-225-9419. Skype IDs are OOJBland00 or Skype ID JBland Paranormal Soup. Call in. But yeah, that just seems like one of those scenarios where they were led to another pet.
Yeah, absolutely. That was great. Great story. We were just talking about synchronicity before, and I have another pretty amazing story that you'll probably find very hard to believe, that includes more synchronicity than you probably have ever heard in one story. And this revolves around again, my dog Dolly. After Dolly passed, like I said, many friends of mine around the country started getting signs from Dolly, and these friends would communicate with me. This particular friend of mine, I met through rescue, and she lives probably like 30 miles north of me. So she wrote me and she said, Rob, I have the most amazing story to tell you. I know that I got a message from Dolly. And I said, okay. She said, here's what happened. She said, I was at an outdoor restaurant. This was October of this past year. You know, I know we're in the middle of COVID, but there you could eat outside. So she said she was at an outdoor restaurant, and this dog came up and kind of nuzzled her leg, and she looked at the dog, and it was a Weimaraner. Now, Weimaraners really aren't that popular, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I've actually known a couple of people I know one woman who had 2 of them. They both died really young. It was awful.
Well, yeah, fortunately, I'm very thankful Dolly lived to be almost 16, but
yeah.
But anyway, she looked at this Weimaraner, she was playing with it, and it was on a lead, and the owner came over, or the pet parent came over, and she said, I asked him what the dog's name was, and he said the dog's name is Dolly Parton, Pawton, Dolly. Now
Like
my
Dolly
dog,
Parton?
yeah, like my dog Dolly was named after Dolly Parton because she came from a rescue in Tennessee, and so my friend Emily said, I just flipped out. She said, that's weird. And she said, well, here's what's even weirder. This guy had a dachshund with him also.
Oh, my God.
And the dachshund was barking. And he said, I'm so sorry about the dachshund. The dachshund is kind of bonded to the Weimaraner, and like my Tyler is with Dolly. And he said, I have 2 more dachshunds at home, like Tom and I have. Okay? Yeah. So the exact same combination of dogs. Here's a dog named Dolly Parton, named after Dolly. And it gets even worse, or weirder, I should say.
Weirder, yeah.
She said, well, I asked him what his name is. She said, well, my name's Emily. And she said, what's your name? And he said, my name is Buzz. Nope. So Buzz was my dog that passed in 2005.
Right.
And he was named after me because that was my radio name when I was on the radio.
Really?
Yeah.
Buzz.
Yeah. Because I drink 20 cups of coffee a day. So, yeah. And she said, well, are you from around here? And he said, yeah, my husband Tom and I live down the street. And she's like, okay, I need more than coffee. I need a stiff.
Right?
She said, I can't wrap my head around everything that just happened to me. Because it was the exact same family that we have. And it gives me chills to actually tell you this, that this is like synchronicity exploded, really. There's no such thing when it comes to spirit. There's no such thing as coincidence. So those are the kinds of things you'll read in Pets and the Afterlife 3.
That's incredible. I mean, it makes you wonder, like, this is I go to the Matrix idea. I don't know. Like, you guys, there's a glitch in the Matrix. There's, two identical families, basically. It'd be awesome if you guys were somehow meet, but you never do. It's like my dad always had a doppelganger that walked around town. People would swear was him. Was an electrician kind of like him. Did security alarms and stuff like that. He would hear it all the time. There's like these doppelganger situations too.
Yeah, I was actually kind of a victim of that. I went back to my hometown up in Massachusetts, and I was coming out of a parking lot in the parking garage, and the parking attendant said, Rob, you are really a jerk. And I'm like,
oh my God,
do I know you? And she said, she's like, yeah, you really were a horrible person to my girlfriend. And I'm like, I don't even know you. And she said, isn't your name Rob G? And I'm like, yeah. And she says, and she said, well, she said some really unkind words. And I'm like, how old is your girlfriend? And the girlfriend was like 12 or 14 years younger than my age.
Yeah.
And I said, there must be a lookalike because, number one, I haven't dated girls.
Right? That's what I was going to say.
I came out of the closet a long time ago. But, and number two, tell this guy that if you ever see him that looks like me, that to stop being a jerk because he's giving me a bad reputation.
Yeah, like there's that Rob G womanizer.
Yeah,
no.
Yeah, I don't think so.
It is weird. I always am fascinated by the whole doppelganger thing. People, I know it's a little off topic of Pets in the Afterlife, but it is weird how like I said, it's like it reminds me like there's some kind of glitch in the Matrix or like randomization of the Matrix. I'm not saying you're not real, Rob, but maybe you and Tom aren't real. Maybe you're just like random, random gay couple with pets here. And you know what I'm saying? Like
the others.
carbon copy. Your 2021's gay pet family owners. I don't know if it's like a carbon copy thing, but there's other things that are like that. People like run into these kind of I call them glitches in the Matrix or these synchronicities. How those things happen, I don't know.
Yeah. So, by the way, did James ever get through to you on the phone?
No, I only had Zach calling. The phone lines are open, James, if you want to call in, or anybody else. They are open right now.
I'd rather him tell his story because it's pretty amazing what his dog Winnie did. But I have another really odd story for you from Pets in the Afterlife 3. And this is how a dog used social media to let dogs on the other side get help from human spirits, of course. All they have to do is ask. But this is probably a really crazy, quirky story that you would never expect. And it really lends itself to making people aware that you can get a sign from anywhere at all. You may be driving by a store and you may see your pet's name on a sign, like a street name or something like that. That's a sign. Because you were at that exact time, at exact location, and you looked in that exact direction to see that sign at that time.
Yep.
No such thing as So, I'll tell you about the dog that used social media. This is pretty amazing. So my friend Dan lives in Indiana, and he volunteers at an animal shelter. And so I got to know Dan actually last year when his dog Romeo passed away. Now Romeo is also in the book. Romeo also has a chapter, and Romeo was his heart dog. I mean, that was his life. So what he did after Romeo passed was he continued to volunteer at the shelter, and so he helped all these dogs. So just before COVID hit in March of last year. A dog came into the shelter who was I think he was like 5 years old. I can't remember his exact age, but he was a white, cute, scruffy looking dog, small dog, and his name was Kuzco, K-U-Z-C-O, Kuzco. And Dan said he bonded with this dog, and he would give the dog belly rubs, and he would visit the dog all the time. He would dote on the dog. He would take the dog out on longer walks and all kinds of things. So when COVID hit, the shelter said, okay, you folks who are volunteers, you have the ability to foster if you want. Dan works 10 to 12-hour days, and he said it wouldn't be fair to the dog.
Oh, yeah.
So there was a foster family that was waiting. They took the dog in. Now, this dog came to the shelter extremely heartworm positive. And this is a lesson for all pet parents. Give your dog heartworm preventative. This poor dog's heart was so damaged from the heartworm that about a month after they had the dog passed away. Dan was devastated. He was so torn up about it. He said, he called me immediately, and he said, I feel guilty. I didn't take the dog. Maybe the dog would have lived longer. And I'm like, so no, I get the dog, and the dog said no. He wouldn't have. So Dan said, I need a sign. And I said, well, Kuzco will send you a sign. long story short, he messaged me, I don't know, a couple weeks after that. And he said, I have to send you a picture of my computer screen. He sent me a snapshot of his computer screen, and the shelter had just released a video weeks after Kuzco passed away. And it was a kind of a PSA of like a public service announcement of the shelter and what they do and all that. It was about, I don't know, 2 minutes long, 3 minutes long. Well, the freeze frame on Dan's computer was a picture of Kuzco.
Yeah.
Now, here's what's odd. Usually when videos are freeze framed, or the frame that shows on a video is within the first 5 or 10 frames.
Right.
Kuzco appeared at 1 minute and 47 seconds into that video for just 2 seconds.
Wow.
So, you know, I even brought up the video, and Kuzco's picture wasn't up there. It wasn't there. It was one of the first frames. But when Dan brought up that video, that's what was there. And he was, you know, shocked. And I said, Dan, Kuzco wants to let you know that he's okay, and he appreciates everything that you did for him in his time at the shelter, and he will definitely be there waiting for you on the other side. Even though your time together was very short, you showed him more love in that short period of time than he received in his entire life before.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So Kuzco had some help, you know, with humans trying to figure out. I mean, I can't even figure out videos on Facebook.
Right? Yeah,
and
no kidding.
And here's a dog that's been able to figure it out. So,
but like you said, they probably have help from human spirit on the other side somehow. We got phone calls coming in actually right now, and I'm having to hang up on people because they're calling all in on the same line. So let me get to. I should have a call on now. I can't see the area code because it keeps coming in. You got somebody on the phone lines. If you're on phone, say hello.
Hello, it's Dee.
Hey, Dee. Hey, Dee. I was actually just going to address because I saw your text message. Rob won't do a reading without a. He has to have a photo.
Oh, darn. I don't know how to do that.
Well, no. Well, we don't have a way to get anybody a photo, so we're not doing readings tonight. But maybe, do you have a question for him?
Oh, well, anyway. So I was just wondering if they have any messages for me. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right, Dee.
Yeah, so Dee, let me just let you know how it kind of works with me, because I'm kind of a medium rare. I'm not really well done. So I have to work differently because I'm not like a learned medium. So in order for me to do readings, I have to have a picture to connect, because there's millions of dogs and cats on the other side, and I need the dog's name or cat's name, and I need any questions that you may have, and then I can tune in, because in the quiet of my own home, nobody's bothering me.
Yeah, exactly. Not on Paranormal Soup here, and you got my voice chattering away. Yeah, you don't need that.
Plus, it's really late here.
Go ahead, Dee.
My two dogs' names were Footsie and Cully. They were both Schnauzers, and Rusty and Dusty were satin brown bunnies, and Whitey was the black and white bunny, and that he's passed on since 2010.
Well, Dee, now Rob, there's a way. You do readings for people still online.
I do. Yeah, they can go to petspirits.com, and on the top right-hand corner, it tells you all about how I do readings.
So, Dee, go check that out at petspirits.com.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Connect with Rob.
I thank you so much, and I could send you pictures of Whitey and Kelly, but I don't remember where I have pictures of Fritzy and my other two bunnies.
But you know what? He might be able to connect to him through the other animals,
Absolutely.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. So long as you got some kind of picture, he can use some kind of connection.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Well, they would be dressed up, because I would dress Whitey as a bunny rather than Santa Claus for the holidays, even though he doesn't have it.
Well, that's awesome. I got other people calling in, Dee, so thank you so much for calling in. Definitely go to petspirits.com and connect with Rob there.
Oh, I will.
All right.
And you guys have a good week, okay? It was good talking to you.
All right. You too, D. Have a great night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. We got another phone call. You ready for another one, Rob?
Sure.
All right. This is 860 area code. Who do we got?
Hi, Jason. This is Azariana.
Hey, Azariana. Thanks for calling in.
It show's a little hard because I've lost a lot of pets and
Yeah,
things like that. I know how. I know how it is. I was told once. Well, one comment. I was told once from some idiot that pets don't have souls.
Yeah, I
Dogs,
heard that.
cats, any animals, they don't have souls. So I tried to run away and not talk to them ever again. They're idiots,
Yep.
But currently, like I said, I've lost a lot of pets, and as I probably have said before, my last cat that passed away, he left his imprint in the last apartment that I was living at.
I remember this. Yeah.
And for some strange reason, I know they visit all my past pets that visit me anyway, but for some strange reason, I seem to be called back to that place to move back in there. And I was wondering if your guest had any idea of that.
Like you think your pets? Do you think it's because that's where your pet's there? That's why you're being called back there?
Well, I was thinking that because I explained that I had to move.
Yeah.
And I explained that you can come with me at the new place, and you can come visit. And the cat does come visit me, but it seems to be kind of the opposite, like calling me back there. And I was just wondering that.
Go ahead, Brian.
If there was.
Yeah, I could probably help you out with that. So there are a couple of things going on. So first of all, I'm glad to hear that your cat's visiting you where you are. So your cat can visit you anywhere, anytime, any place because your cat has crossed over. But your cat has an affinity for the home that you grew up in, and that's why. It's more of a sentimental thing for your cat. And every time you feel like you have to go over there, it's because your cat is around you. So that's the cat's way of letting you know that he's right there with you.
Okay.
Because that was his favorite place.
Yeah, it's a good thing. If I can ask one more question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I currently have 2 cats, and the running joke in my family is that I've always had cats and I've never had a dog. Mm-hmm. So I once met a little black and white little dog. I think it's a Boston Terrier type dog, and I kind of fell in love with it. And I told my family, as soon as these last 2 go, I'm going to get a dog, and that's the kind of dog I want. Well, a couple of times I've kind of been dreaming of that type of dog. And it's not that I want my cats to go. I never want my cats to go. But this would be some type of service animal for me at this time. So I'm wondering if it's a precognition type thing, or
is it telling you it's time to get a dog? Your kids are like, no.
It could be a message from one of your relative spirits saying,
right.
Since you need this dog in a service way, that now is the time you should get the dog where you're able to train the dog in a service manner, despite the fact that you have 2 cats. Just because it could be that, whatever you need the dog for assistance, is going to progressively get worse. So now is the time to get the dog and train the dog appropriately for when you really need him.
Okay. That sounds like a good idea, except my cats don't like dogs. That would be a problem.
Cats don't like change.
Yeah, they'll have to get over it, I guess.
Yeah.
I wanted to say thank you, by the way. One of my pet peeves is people that say animals don't have souls. And you're right, they are idiots. Because a soul is our memories, personality, and knowledge coupled with the energy that is within us. And dogs and cats and all kinds of animals rule the earth long before people came up and screwed it up.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Definitely. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And you guys have a good night. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Azaria. We got the phone lines blowing up here. I'll see if we can take one more before our next commercial break. We got 270 area code. Who do we got?
James Watkins.
Hey, we got James.
There he is.
Thank you. I know he's been trying to get through. Sorry, James. I got only so many phone lines, and everybody's calling on the same one. But thank you.
Hey, James. Good to hear your voice. Thanks.
Good to chat with you guys.
So you had a reading from Rob. He wanted you to kind of give the audience a little bit of idea what that was like.
Yeah, actually, it was mind blowing how spot on he was.
What was the animals that he was communicating with?
It was a dog named
communicating with my dog, Winnie.
Winnie. And what was the message that Rob conveyed to you that really convinced you that it was Winnie?
Well, okay, one of the things that Rob does is he wants a photo of the dog or the pet, and I sent the photo, and it was just Winnie, and she was lying in the grass, and you couldn't really, from the photo, you couldn't tell how big or small she was. It was just a photo of her closely cropped, and so Rob wrote me back and said, answered my question, when is okay now. That there had been some challenges in the last few months, and I'm thinking, yeah, well, anybody who's had a dog dying knows that there's been challenges. So I'm still pretty skeptical. And he says that the number 5 has significance, and I still haven't figured out what that is. But I'm thinking, okay, well, this could be just a waste of time. But then Rob goes in to discuss that spirits will often make him feel things, and one of the items was when he connected with her, she made him feel as though there was something in her throat that she was trying to spit up. Congestion, was she throwing up at all? I'm seeing a medication tablet being given to her she didn't like, but she seemed to appreciate the fact that I was trying to mask the taste of it by hiding it in a pill pocket. And I'm still thinking, okay, that may or may not actually be a true story, but this could just be something cold. But then he started getting into some other things. She's fixating on a ball. I assume she had them to chase when she was younger, something that she enjoyed doing, and actually that was her favorite thing always to do. And she was a Welsh Terrier, and when the ball was big enough, she would actually body surf over the ball, and otherwise she would push it around the yard with her snout, and then she would knock it up and bat it around like a volleyball player. And then where things got really, really interesting, and this is the part that really blew me away. Rob said that Wynn told him that there was a woman on the other side named Liz, and he said, I keep seeing a friend of mine with that same name. She's wearing some sort of dress that looks like a Scottish pattern. Wynn doesn't know what the pattern is called, but is showing that pattern to me. That person is connected to you. They're helping bring that Winnie into the light. Well, my wife befriended a lady who was named Liz, and while Liz never met Winnie, Liz passed away basically 4 days before Winnie did.
Oh, wow.
And when my wife showed me the photo on her cell phone, because she had taken a photo of this lady about a year before, and I'd never seen the photo before, Liz is in fact wearing a Scottish tartan wrap.
Wow.
Which at that point, that really pulled me in, and I was like, okay, wait a minute. Now this is we're beyond the point now where this could be something faking.
Right.
And then Rob said that the dog is trying to convey to me that she was a gentle giant. It's difficult for me to ascertain how large she was, but perhaps she felt giant. And I responded, and I told him that that in fact one of the things, there's no way he could know this, but one of the things that Wynn would do for the bulk of her life when she would ride with me, when we would come to overpasses, she would duck down because she was afraid she was going to hit her head on the overpass or on the interstate signs. Now, I don't know what kind of warped perspective she had as to her size, but, you know, she wasn't Clifford size by any stretch of the imagination, but she would do that, and for Rob to be able to pick up on the fact that Wynn felt so large was just really amazing to me. So that was the breakdown on these things, but it really does point to the special abilities that Rob has, and the fact that he's willing to share those abilities with folks.
Oh, I know. Like I said, I'm pretty sure. Like my mom had said after her Merlin, she had a Shih Tzu named Merlin passed, that she corresponded with you, Rob, if I remember right, during that, and you helped her too. And I mean, my mom, every dog that's ever passed in her life, she takes it so hard. So it is a true real gift. And James, thank you so much for calling in and sharing that experience you had with Rob.
Thank you, James.
Yes, yeah. Thank you, guys, and thank you, Rob.
And watch for that number 5, because it's going to show up. You actually may wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and Woody's going to be there.
Well, thank you, guys.
All right.
All right.
Have
Good
a great
night.
night, James.
Good night.
Maybe 5 will have something to do with the next animal he gets. You know, it'll be a sign that he knows he needs to get the next animal. You know, that somehow. That's what
that's
I wonder.
true. I mean, you know, if he decides to adopt another dog, the dog may be born in May or on the 5th of the month or at 5 o'clock. So
Right, like it's like 6. Or my parents' cat that showed up the 6 month, you know, on the Bulls championship. I think on the 6th day, you know, it was like all 6s. Like, see, devil cat. I was like, don't bring that cat in the house. The devil cat.
That's unfortunate for that poor cat.
No, but I loved her. and I was my mom, when that cat passed, was heartbroken. And then I moved out and they got dogs and they became dog people. When I begged my parents for years to get a dog, and I move out and then they get dogs. They fell in love with Shih Tzus, and I remember my mom saying that after, I think because you had been on our show. I think she had reached out or gone to your website or whatever, and you guys communicated. And I thought that was really awesome of you, and I think, you know, you helped her. Let's see, we got another call, I think, coming through. I think I got it. Let me make sure. I got time for another call. All right, who do we got on the line here? It doesn't tell me an area code again for some reason. Say hello.
This is Alan, South Korea.
Oh, Alan, hey. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah. Did you look up that green door thing?
Yeah, I did. I did look up the green door thing and found that, you know, it is a term that's like used. It's not just you. I think you said it was the Air Force. It's been used in other operations too. Yeah. Yeah, it seems to be like secret projects. Another night.
There you go. Yeah. I got a question for Rob. Okay, my dog Lucky, she passed about 4 or 5 years ago. But when she was alive, like I said, I'm in South Korea, and about a block and a half down from me, there was this area where you can still see the remnants of foxholes, right? And the Koreans refused to build on it, so it's like this little island around these apartment buildings. And my dog, she started refusing to go there. But what would happen is we would go there, then we'd come back, and then we'd have like this paranormal stuff go on, like a hairdryer turning on that's not even plugged in, a locked door opening, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And my question is, why was my dog such a supernatural magnet?
Well, the answer to that is because dogs are fascinated by the paranormal. They can see them, as we discussed earlier in the evening. They can see them and they can hear them, and because they often can't smell them because it takes too much energy to generate all of that scent and sound. Some dogs look at it as something that needs to be investigated further. Other dogs will be fearful of it. So she probably wanted to know, who all of these people were, or all of these animals were.
Okay, I could believe that.
Did she? Was it?
Say again?
Was it a girl, the dog, or a boy?
Yes, there was a girl schnauzer.
Okay, so and was she innately curious when she was with you? Did she chase things?
I used to call her, when I take her out walking, that she's checking her pee mail. Because, everything.
So one thing that dogs still do in spirit, by the way, is they do the same things that they did when they were alive. So, if you ever find yourself walking over that way, you may feel that she's with you. But in spirit, dogs will do the same thing. So they'll go to the same places. They'll have their same spot. If your schnauzer was laying in one corner of your house all the time, you may walk by that corner and see a shadow, a fleeting shadow, just for a second, and that would be her. Because
gosh,
you could sit in that same.
Go ahead.
No, that's it.
Okay. I bought your first book on Amazon while I was listening to you. Like I said, I was in Korea, so what I do is I buy the Kindles, because paperback and hard copy is too hard to ship over here.
Oh, I bet.
And and I looked at your website, petspirits.com.
Yes.
Where do I click for like an appointment? Because I'm doing it on my phone, and I looked, and it was like, okay, different, like, okay, I've been on this show, that show, this show, that show, but I didn't see any link there for like to book an appointment.
So here's how it works. So what I do in the top right hand corner, there's a little picture that says how to get a limited email pet readings. So you click on that, and that will explain how to do everything. So my email is there. What you have to do is just send me a picture of your dog, and any questions, and I just charge $10 a reading.
Oh, okay.
Which,
not bad.
That's not. Doing this show for 5 years and having a lot of mediums on, I know all their prices. I'll tell you what, $10 is not that's a donation.
So I only do it on the weekends, because during the week I'm a meteorologist, so I don't have time during the week. I don't make.
It's been a busy week for you.
Oh my God. Yeah. Arctic outbreaks are not my friend.
Right.
How's the weather over in South Korea?
It's beautiful today. It's about 50 degrees, about 50 degrees, and the air pollution isn't bad. One thing in the springtime, we have this phenomena called Mongolian dust, yellow dust.
Oh.
It's coming from the Mongolian desert.
Yeah.
It just sticks over everything. And also China is a horrible neighbor.
Oh, yeah.
They just, because you get a couple million people burning charcoal because that's what they still use for heat.
Mm-hmm.
And the pollution is just
And
horrible.
the factories, all the stuff we're getting from China is getting made in those factories, and they're just its reason is made over there, not here.
Exactly.
They don't have the EPA.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that got that. That is so weird. Yeah, that you had this show today because I was really missing my dog, missing her so badly. And I was thinking. Okay, let me just finish. I was thinking if there was only some way I could just talk to her and know that she's okay. Is there really a rainbow bridge?
Well, I can answer that. Actually, if you look at the cover of my book, it's a picture of my two dogs that passed in 2020 with a bridge. I actually had a cover design to do that because
it's beautiful.
Rainbow Bridge is something that people often think about when our pets cross. So the answer is that there really isn't a rainbow bridge, but that was created to give us comfort and peace because rainbows are peaceful to look at, and bridges are our way of really it's a metaphor for crossing over into understood. So it's a visual way that we can find more peace.
Hey, who knows? I'm a big fan of the movie What Dreams May Come. Who knows? Whatever we believe we might create when we go over there. We might be creating the Rainbow Bridge.
Oh, same here. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Alan, for calling in, man.
Well, thank you so much for having this show, sir. You're just awesome, and your guest is awesome, and everybody have a good day. Thank you.
Nice talking to you.
All the way from South Korea. So awesome.
That's awesome.
I love technology for that. Never started when I do this show and I have somebody calling in from South Korea. It's so awesome.
Yeah, and they don't get Arctic outbreaks, so I want to let you know that.
Yeah. Well, I got to admit, man, I was thinking about you this week. I'm like, I wonder how busy he is. Oh, my God.
Yeah, yeah. So I want to throw some geek science at you for just a second because people always say, there's no such thing as global warming, which is not true. It's actually because the planet is warming that we're getting these Arctic outbreaks.
Because it's melting the Arctic.
Well, so the air temperature over the Arctic is extremely warm, and what that does when it gets really warm up there is it pushes all that Arctic air south, and it either slides this way in the U.S. or it slides over Siberia and Russia. Now, Siberia is much warmer than normal because we've got all that Arctic air.
It's pushing it down. You remember what was the? You remember? I'm a big Art Bell fan, and we've got to go to commercial break. Shoot, we'll come back to this actually. We'll talk about this because he did the whole book with Whitley Strieber, and then what was the name of the movie they did kind of off that in
Contact?
No, not. I love Contact. That's a fan. He was a big fan of that book. Dang it. He wrote a book, and now I can't even think of the name of it. I am totally too late at night, not enough coffee, I guess. I'll think of it when I come back. I'm sure somebody will comment it in there. They made a movie with Dennis Quaid. It was Dennis Quaid. Come on to me. God bless it. It's too late. I'll think about it after commercial break or cheat and look it up on Google. All right. We're going to go to commercial break. We come back. Phone lines will still be open for you guys to call in and share your experiences or ask your questions. Rob, remember, not doing readings. He's not going to do a reading for you, but you want to get his advice or share your experience, please call in tonight. I know we got a lot of dog and cat parents in here or rabbit parents. Me too. Whatever the pet, doesn't matter. Snakes, Rob. I hate going with the snakes. I don't know if you've ever read for a snake. I don't know, but I understand that Rob loves his snakes, his pets. That's not where I can go with pets. But I don't know. All right, guys, we'll go to commercial break. We'll be right back.
Intercepted a transmission of unknown origin.
Transmission? Out here?
SOS.
Human.
Unknown.
Alien. Certificate X. Exclusive engagement at the Odeon Leicester Square. now.
Any systematized transmission indicating a possible intelligent origin must be investigated.
In space, no one can hear you scream.
If you are interested in discovering the truth about the paranormal and want to hear from leading researchers in the field, join Justin Brown on his 3 weekly shows named My Paranormal Soapbox, Necromancer Live Show, and the Supernatural Symposium, live on Facebook, YouTube, and InterfaceDev.net.
This is an APAC studio presentation.
Hi, I'm Barry, owner-operator of Barry's Barometer Barn. Lately, I bet you've been lying awake at night asking yourself, how many barometers do I really need? Well, at Barry's Barometer Barn, we think you need more than one. Otherwise, we're gonna go out of business. Remember, at Barry's Barometer Barn, we don't know the meaning of high-pressure sales. Come on, folks, buy another barometer. I'm trying to put my kids through college, I've got a family to support, and a secret mistress who isn't cheap.
Visit Barry's Barometer Barn, 000 Storm Drive. Come on, folks, buy a barometer. I'm Barry's older brother, Larry, and every time one of you people walk past the store without coming in, Barry beats me.
This has been a presentation from Tim Morgan's APAC Studio. For more almost professional amateur comic studio content, visit the APAC YouTube channel. Search APAC 2002. That's APAC 2002 on YouTube.
When Alex Gardner is asleep, he has an extraordinary gift. The government wants it, the scientists want it, but to keep it may cost him his life. It might be better if Alex didn't sleep at all, but he cannot resist entering the dreamscape. Can you? See Dreamscape in the West End and all over London now, Certificate 15. It takes an extraordinary adventurer to enter the dreamscape.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
The night is alive. Join us and take a walk on the weird side when you tune in to the Kingdom of Nye, hosted by Heather Wade, the finest in late night talk. Listen live free weeknights starting at 9 p.m. Pacific time at thekingdomofnye.com, talkstreamlive.com, and the Paranormal Radio app. Wanna take a ride?
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Heat 'em up. Do, re, Egon.
You're listening to Paranormal Soup, bringing you the weird every Sunday night. Call into the show and join the discussion. The call-in lines are 219-230-4444 or 260-225-9419 or by Skype caller ID OOJBland00 or JBland Paranormal Soup. And now to your host, Jason Bland.
Tonight's guest we've been talking to is Rob Gutro. He is the author of Pets and The Afterlife, 3 books on that. His latest one is Messages from Spirit Dogs. And like I said, I'm kind of looking forward to the show. I really am, talking about Rob, but it's also kind of hard for me because it's still really sore. So that wound's still really sore, losing both my pets this year. We're really close to each other. And I know so many, even Jamie, before we got on the show, she said it's so hard to hear people when they're sharing their stories about their pets because as a pet owner, you feel it. You feel the empathy for somebody when they say they lost their family member, because that's what they are. They're family members. And some people don't get it. I don't know how they don't. Maybe they need to get a pet and get some pet love and understand, what it is to have these animals in your life. That's why I love doing this show with Rob, because we get to talk about something I love, and that's animals. But the phone lines are still open. You can call into this show, 219-230-4444, 260-225-9419, Skype ID OOJBland00 or JBland Paranormal Soup. But let's go ahead and get back to our guest. All right, so what were we talking about? Day After Tomorrow. I remembered it as soon as I went to commercial break. I remembered it, and then I saw a couple people posted, Alan and Rob there, or somebody else. Rob Weird Wednesday posted a Day After Tomorrow, but Alan, yeah, you're right. Day After Tomorrow. I thought about that movie just today because I saw poor possum frozen, like completely frozen, mid-crawl up a fence, like frozen dead right there. And I thought that just reminded me of The Day After Tomorrow, because in that it's kind of a similar situation, but it all happens in like one day, and it pushes down this whole polar vortex. I don't know if you ever saw the movie or heard about Art Bell and Whitley Strieber's book about the quickening in this, but everything freezes, flash freezes. They're like, this is how the mammoths died back in the Ice Age. They're flash frozen, and that happens like in modern times. And everybody ends up going to Mexico, by the way, in the movie. It's just hilarious. Oh, you're muted, Rob.
I did see the movie, but I will tell you that flash freezing is not going to happen.
No, I know. It's Hollywood. It's a movie. But
yeah.
But it's what it made me think of when I saw this poor possum frozen to this fence. Like, it happened so quick for that poor possum.
Yeah, and in Florida, it's gotten so cold that all the lizards have been falling off the trees.
Oh, that's why I don't live in Florida.
Yeah,
I don't live in Florida, man. I cannot deal with reptiles. I cannot do it.
Come on, man. They got personality.
Yeah, what about that? You get people it's like my pet snake. Do you get that one? Have you ever had to do a pet snake reading?
No, I have not. And I have to be honest with you. Yes, it's fine for everybody to have whatever pets they want, but I have to draw the line at reptiles. So,
sorry, Rob. Sorry, I'm not alone.
Yeah, and reptiles. I mean, really, to be honest with you here, that mammals have a higher brain function. They're able to actually learn words and so forth, and reptiles really they can hear the sounds and they can understand when they sound similar. But since I haven't communicated with one, I can't tell you whether or not they understand words. Somebody asked me about fish, by the way, too.
Yeah. Oh, pet fish. Yeah. I mean, I know people are like really. I mean, I knew a guy he couldn't afford to pay for his kids all his all the kids he had, but he spent thousands of dollars on like saltwater fish, and like his fish were his babies.
I had a box fish that had a personality, like a little dog. This little fish, it was crazy.
Yep.
How did you know it had a personality? Can you describe that? Because I'm fascinated.
Yeah, actually, he would see me coming in with the food, and he always did this certain little spin when he knew it was like time to eat, up and down, the aquarium. And then he would be looking at me, I'd be looking at him, and I'd go give him the food, like almost like he was playing with me every day. And so he'd see me go to the freezer. I know it was food time, but he'd see me go to the freezer, and just the way he acted, and I've had a lot of reptiles, a lot of fish. That box fish had a personality.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we all believe that all these creatures have souls of some kind or some interaction. Even snakes. I don't care. I cannot stand snakes. I draw the line there too. If they were big enough, that snake would eat you, Rob.
I was actually
no.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead,
no.
Rob. The other Rob.
I was actually just asked about fish. I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and I think that a fish's spirit can influence another fish to maybe go to their favorite place in the tank or do a similar kind of behavior to let you know that fish is still around, even though it may have passed. So there are some ways that fish can send messages that they're still there.
So I eat a fish fillet every day, man.
Oh man,
that's what I had for lunch today. Was a fish
Jason,
fillet.
you always happen to be eating whatever we're talking about.
So I haven't eaten snake. I've eaten alligator. I'm talking about going vegetarian. I'm total carnivore. It's awful. It's awful. Judge me. There's Jamie judging me.
Jamie's got this. Yeah, she's.
That's a judging look right there.
Yeah. We at least get one a show. It wouldn't be the same.
It's okay.
But yeah, that's the thing. They're pets. We talk about dogs and cats. People have had all kinds. Like my wife, like she just can't understand people who have birds as pets, and I'm kind of that way too. But I get it. I mean, they love their. I've known plenty of my dad. Like one of the first pets he ever had was a. Oh God, what kind of macaw? And he had a really weird experience. Actually, I should tell this story. My stepdad told me it. And he's kind of like a scientific, kind of skeptical person, how he is with things. But he one of the paranormal experiences he's always shared with me is that he had this macaw, and he had this dream that it died. Like it was dead in its cage. When he got up after the dream that morning, there it was, dead in its cage. He's like, I just don't know how to explain. He's like trying to think, well, maybe in my hearing, I could hear it dying, and my subconscious told me, like trying to figure it out. I'm like, nope, Dad, that was just you going into the weird.
So probably the bird passed and crossed over pretty much immediately, and then came back into his dreams to let him know when it happened, so he wasn't shocked when he woke up in the morning. Because that happens often.
That shows a consciousness for the birds, I know. I my wife's like, they're just dirty creatures. I'm like, and for me, I'm an Alfred Hitchcock fan, and I saw the birds, and I just would not have them as a
My
pet.
mom and I are like Snow White. We've got these blue jays and crows and squirrels that we can hit. They know us well enough. Even their babies, they're gone, but the babies know. And they have the same little mannerisms. They come up and take the peanuts from our hands, and the squirrel can even knock on the window if you ignore it.
Squirrels they got personality. Oh, I've known that ever since I was a little kid, because I had like kind of a pet squirrel at my great grandmother's house, and she'd be like, watch out, it's gonna bite you, and they're gonna have to get a rabies shot. But she knew it was my pet squirrel. They got personalities. I know it. All these animals do. Rob, I think you agree.
Yeah, I do. And one thing, I'm glad that you mentioned squirrels and birds, because actually that's one of the things that our cats and dogs can influence to do something crazy to let us know that they're around. So particularly, cats like to do that with birds because they're always dreaming about them.
Yep.
And that doesn't, and the same thing with insects too, birds and butterflies and dragonflies and so forth. What it doesn't mean is that every time you see a bird or a butterfly, it's a sign, because it's not. It has to be, number one, tied to a date, relative to a date, like a date of passing or a date of adoption or something like that. Number two, if you're thinking about your dog or cat in spirit, and your dog or cat may have had a fixation with a squirrel or a butterfly or something, then that's a possibility. But you really have to look at the date and see if the animal is acting erratically. And it doesn't mean that they're controlling them. It's not mental.
No.
It's actually just influencing them to do something different.
Like my father, for instance, our thing was hummingbirds, and on
that's what I was gonna get
Christmas, certain holidays, just the other day, the hummingbird will come up to our window and flutters to make sure we see it, does this little dance,
Yes.
and then it goes away, and that's when we know that felt like a sign.
Yes.
We keep talking about him, and then the hummingbird comes around.
Oh, my wife, her grandmother, had this thing with cardinals, and because my wife used to call them when she was a little kid red jays, and that was the thing between her and her grandmother. There's no such thing as red jay, but they'd be calling them red jays, and they had that for her. And her grandmother was like the patriarch of the family. Everybody loved her. Mimi was her name, and when she passed, the day she passed was a red cardinal, sitting out in the yard, like right out the window. The morning we found out she passed, we looked out the window. There it is. Well, the interesting thing is I was on this field trip with my son, and he has sensory disorder. And there was a lot of noise. We're in downtown Chicago, waiting for a train, a lot of noise, and he's freaking out. And I'm like, oh my God, I need something to distract this kid. And I see suddenly this cardinal fighting this praying mantis on the tracks. And that's all right up to get my son distracted. I'm like, oh look, there's a cardinal fighting a praying mantis. My son's right at the window, like monster fight. That totally calmed him down, distracted him, and I swear, I'm like, thank you, Mimi. Like I knew that was her. It was like, I don't know, like you said, do they control them or do they just influence the animals? But she knew what would get my son its attention is a fight between a praying mantis and a cardinal. I even filmed it. Like I was like, I had to record it because I was just like, for sure it was a sign.
Yeah, they just influence them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just give them a nudge, and it has. And what's interesting is that the timing is fascinating because sometimes you could turn away, like you could have turned away, but you're compelled to look out that window at that very moment. I was. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. To me, I knew right away that was her. That was her way of helping me, a dad out indeed, because I was starting to panic because my son was just losing it. It was too much noise and too much going on for him for his sensory disorder, and he focused in on that, and he was like, "Oh my God, look at this!" It was a crazy fight too. Of course, the bird won. The bird won.
I don't want to know that though.
Well, would you want the praying mantis to win? They're creepy.
I want to know. Leave it at they were fighting.
Somebody had to win. But yeah, I've always been fascinated. We've heard it on the show so many times of people getting messages from spirit through animals. Signs through animals, and you just wonder how the mechanics of that work. How they influence them.
Yeah, actually, in one of the stories in Pets and The Afterlife 3 is the chapter I called Rudy's Groundhog, actually, because a groundhog kept coming up after the dog Rudy passed away. A groundhog kept coming up to this woman's kitchen door and doing the same things that the dog.
That's weird.
At the door, yeah. What's even more weird is she said that when before, I think it was a year or two before, her husband, I think it was her husband that passed, and that's when the groundhog first showed up. And it would just go to the door and stare at her.
Was he a fan? Makes me wonder, but I would ask her, is your husband a fan of the movie Caddyshack?
Yeah, I know.
That's just such weird. I grew up around groundhogs. That is not a groundhog behavior. That is not. They are averse to people. They stay away from people. They don't go to doors. They don't go up to doors. That's really weird.
Yeah, so even groundhogs can be influenced to behave oddly to give us a sign that our loved ones are around.
Yeah, that's I'm always interested in those stories. People tell me of these because I've had my experience with the cardinal and that's really the only animal experience I had that I felt a spirit was human spirit is influencing. But I definitely still curious about the animals leading you to another animal because I know at some point I'm gonna have this family break down and force me to get another pet. I just don't know when that right time's gonna be.
It'll happen.
But I know my family's gonna force me to it.
It's just
You'll
going
know.
to happen, Jason. They find you.
So one thing we haven't touched upon yet is the reincarnation question. I wanted to address that,
yes, please.
because so many people ask me that question.
Yeah.
So one woman actually asked me. She wrote me and she said a medium told her that my new dog is the reincarnation of my other dog, and she said I'm so happy about that. And I wrote her back and I said, to be honest with you, that's never had been my experience at all.
Really?
And I said, to be honest with you, I think she may have told you that to comfort you because you were very distraught.
Yeah.
But we all have different gifts. We all interpret things differently.
Right.
So my experience is that nobody comes back until the ones that they know in this life have passed. There are exceptions.
Yeah.
But our pets are always going to be waiting for us on the other side. When I told you that when Dolly passed, that I saw my two dogs that passed in spirit.
Yeah.
In the kitchen with my parents and Ed. So when my dad passed away in 2008, I watched him walk into the light at the cemetery, and his parents were there, my mother's parents were there, and our family dog was in there, and so was Buzz in the light. So they'll be waiting for us in the light. And the reason they don't come back is they want to welcome us to the other side. And I will tell you, though, that they do visit in spirit when you adopt another dog, and they will train that dog to have a habit or two that they had in life so that they're still there.
I've heard of that. I've heard people telling these kind of stories that the new pet picked up habits that the old dog had or old cat. I've heard this.
Even when they haven't met them.
Right. No, that's exactly what I mean. Like, they got him after the pet pass, had no way of knowing, and they do the same thing. Mm-hmm. It is so interesting.
I had a calico cat who was 2 days from passing, and as I was taking her to the vet, this tortoiseshell that looks just like her stray started coming around. I'm looking down like, oh no, 'cause I already know like where this is going. And needless to say, 2 days later, I didn't have Bob anymore, but I had Panda Bear, and very, very similar, in personality. They're different but similar. And I always felt like Bob knew she was going, and Panda had been stray running around for like years. I couldn't catch her. So it was almost like, can you give this, since I rescued Bob and gave him such a good home, can you give, take care of Panda now and kind of fill that spot because I was going to miss Bob. So I always felt like Bob sent Panda to me. And I've had 3-4 other cases where while the animals were alive, they sent their replacements.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
You got to think too. I mean, Jamie. Your animal's alive, but I always think that's also your spirit guides or spirits around you, arranging these partnerships in a way.
Yeah, they do. And the other thing too is that often just before people or pets will pass, they will leave their physical bodies and let others know that they're going to pass, or they can influence, a feral cat, if you will, to come to your house to help fill in the gap.
I swear that's what happened with my parents and the two cats they had. It's exactly had to have been that, because they were so down after Patches passed away, and then them bringing Six into their life, during their non-dog years before I moved out, they needed another cat to fill that time, and Six was just the perfectly aligned way she showed up and everything. It was totally meant to be.
Yeah, and how many times do we hear that people that are not with their loved ones when they die automatically feel that they passed?
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
You know, one of the weirdest two experiences when my dog Bella passed is, and with Asia, both of them. But when Bella passed, I was really close to her and I was kissing her head, and then giving her the injection. I felt like there was this really weird feeling, like I don't know if she passed through me.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's this really moment.
Yep.
And I knew that moment she had gone.
Yeah.
It was, I said, it's a beautiful but bitter feeling in a way.
Yeah, you can feel their energy. So that reminds me of another little sign that Franklin our dachshund gave to me. It was the night that he passed. He passed in the afternoon. And one of the things, being a dachshund, he loved treats. Food was like the be-all, end-all for Franklin. And he never missed 8 o'clock, because 8 o'clock would be what we call in our house 3 treat time. I would say treat time. And what they would do is they would all line up. All 4 dogs would line up. So that night, the night that he passed, I was standing in the corner of the kitchen. And I said to the kids, it's almost 3 treat time. Well, Jason, suddenly I got chills. I got totally cold. And I was actually wearing a long sleeve shirt and jeans. And I said to Tom, feel my arm. And he felt my arm. And he said, oh my gosh, what the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah.
And I said, it's Franklin. Franklin is actually taking the movement of molecules of air, and he's taken that energy so that he can manifest, and he's slowing them down. And slow moving molecules of air are cold air, fast moving molecules of air are warm air. So I was so cold, I had to go put a sweatshirt on to give those dogs their 3 treats. And when I came back and I said, okay, it's 3 treat time, here's what's even weirder. The other 3 dogs lined up, and they lined up like this with a space in the middle where Franklin normally sits. So Franklin was actually sitting there in spirit waiting for his 3 treats, and they saw him.
Some of the, we do the World Wide Web of Weird news segment, and some of my favorite things we've shown. Yeah, well, some of my favorite things we've showed on this show have been the ghost pets have showed up on video camera. Like there's one where a dog runs down a hallway. Mm-hmm. You can totally see it. I don't think it's a hoax or anything. I think it was somebody really captured this ghost dog running down a hallway. There's another one where it runs. Somebody got and these are all past dogs that passed in the house. All these I think are, and you see a dog run through this kitchen like a ghost. Like a translucent dog. I've seen some really great footage. Like spirits aren't shy. A dog spirits or cat spirits aren't shy. They're the one we listed as I think one of my favorites from 2020 when we did the best of the World Wide Web of Weird was the cat one. I think I labeled that as my favorite one because there's this lady had a cat that passed away, and she's got her security cameras inside the home. And her one cat was freaking out, went upstairs, and she went down to check it out, turned on the light. She doesn't see the cat, but on camera, the camera sees this cat like manifest right there on the couch. It was incredible footage.
Wow.
I think I think human spirits are more shy or want to hide or whatever, something, maybe I don't know, but animals, man, I've seen some of the best manifestations from animal spirits on camera.
Seen them in my house here.
Oh yeah.
I've also found, too, that animals, like people, will manifest if they become visible enough. They will manifest and to appear younger than they are when they passed. And people do the same thing. We pick, the time in life that we're the most comfortable with our appearance, and we'll do that. So one thing I also wanted to mention, you mentioned seeing animals in the house. You may often see a shadow. You may not see... Right. A full color image of your dog or cat in the house. And the reason for that is that it takes a lot of energy for them to appear visibly. So when they don't have that much energy, they appear as a shadow.
Right. And that's the same for human spirits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That seems to be. I tell people about my shadow person experience. I know that was not a spirit. That was something totally different I dealt with. It was negative in that it appeared like as a full black void thing. But I've also seen shadows out of the corner of my eye, and I've seen shadows in front of me that I believe are human spirits that couldn't manifest. And I think that's, like you said, it could be possibly for animals. A lot of times, I've been on investigations where people, what they describe isn't, is always something small and black that moves out of the corner of their eye. It's not something big. I'm always like, well, was there a pet that passed here? And you've heard stories of them finding like pets who died in a crawl space or somewhere, and they would always describe a ghost cat, and then they find the actual body of the cat in the house, like buried away or died somewhere. It's sad, but those scenes always interest the heck out of me.
Yeah, I ran into an investigation. I ran into a ghost cat. I asked the owner of the house. I said, I didn't see a cat the entire time I was here in the investigation, but one just brushed past my leg, and she said, "Oh, that's the ghost cat that we have in the house."
Oh yeah, I was on an investigation where somebody felt like a cat brush up against them. The owner's like, "Oh yeah, I had a cat. I think she's still here." I totally, they live in the house their whole life, and if they're still the owners are still there, I think they stick around.
So in all of my adventures, I've only encountered one cat that stayed behind and one dog that stayed behind. So for everybody listening, 99% of the pets cross over because your relatives in spirit are there to cross over. The ghost dog that I encountered, I wrote about in my book, Ghost of England on a Medium's Vacation, because it was in England. It was at a museum called Sir John Soane's house up there in London, and he had a dog. He and his wife had a dog named Fanny. And Fanny is still running around in the museum, because when I walked in the door, there was little Fanny running around, and I talked to docents in there, and they said, "Yep, we've seen him many times." So.
Oh wow! And what makes you wonder what makes a pet stay that long? After the owners have gone, and passed away, what makes a pet stay in a location? Because you've heard, some of the ancient sites in England and all that there's these different kind of ghost dogs and animals and legends of that.
Well, this particular dog loved the house so much because John Soane was an architect. He collected all these weird artifacts from all over the world. Actually had a sarcophagus in the basement when we went in. It was kind of a weird house, but fascinating. Anyway, he liked to run around, and when his parents passed over, he was happy to and independent.
Obviously,
stay home.
Well, Rob, it's been such a pleasure to have you back on the show. We definitely got to do this again. And for people to get your book, they go to Amazon. Yes. Of course, they can find a copy of it there. Like Alan in North Korea got his Kindle version of it. Or you can get a hardback version of it, definitely. And you have other books, like I said, Ghost of England, On a Medium's Vacation, and Kindred Spirits, your other books.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Case Files of Inspired Ghost Tracking, which is actually right behind me here. That one came out just recently. If you want to go on a paranormal investigation, that will take you on paranormal investigations. And a couple of other books, Lessons Learned to Talk to the Dead and Ghosts and Spirits and stuff. But yeah, pets have a big place in my heart. And so there will be a Pets in the Afterlife 4 about cats. So I'm not being partial.
Yeah, don't leave out the cats.
Yeah, and Pets in the Afterlife 1 and 2 do have equal cat and dog stories, and some horse and birds in there too. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, even talk about horses. Oh my God, yeah. My grandfather trained Tennessee riders, and the horses they have their own personality completely too. That's another animal. God, you can't deny they have a soul.
Well, Jason, at the end of the week, I'm doing actually 4 blogs on horse spirits and ghosts.
Oh, that's awesome.
I think starting Friday, so I'll send you a link.
Yeah, definitely want to see it. Well, thank you, Rob. That's it for this show, guys. Go to petspirits.com to connect with Rob if you want a reading. $10 for a reading, Rob. That's pretty. To me, it's like a donation. That's pretty cheap. That's pretty easy for somebody to get a reading from you. I'm surprised you're not overwhelmed.
Cheap and easy.
Yeah, cheap and easy, Rob. Right here, get a reading. No, I'm just surprised you're not overwhelmed with readings when you make it. $10. You might get a lot after this show tonight. I don't know. Not my fault, Rob. Not my fault.
All right. Thanks, Jason.
Well, thank you again. Check out petspirits.com. Check out his Pets and The Afterlife. There's volumes 1, 2, and 3. And I can't wait for the 4th one. You'll have to come on. We'll have to talk about cats in the afterlife. All right, guys. Next week, we're going to have Lionel Friedberg. His book is Forever in My Veins, How a Film Led Me to the Mystery World of the African Shaman. Guy's worked in Hollywood, produced a lot of mystery TV shows, and he's had this incredible experience he's going to share on the show next Sunday. All right, guys, see you next week. Thanks to everybody who shares the show out. Thank you to our patrons. You do help pay the bills. All right, guys, we'll see you next Sunday. Have a great night.